Right. Okay.
All
So,
right.
right.
Thank you
So,
guys for joining. We're talking about the insanity of neologisms and how people are expecting us to change the way we think and change the way we speak, and how they're destabilizing us as human beings deliberately, and throwing a wrench in the game. We want to talk about the story of the Tower of Babel in the Bible. Everything was going good. They were almost about to reach God with that tower. And then all of a sudden, the languages got confused and nobody understood what the fuck everybody was talking about, what each other was talking about. And that's the world that we're living in right now. They're
that's
creating the
interesting.
Tower of Babel,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We're living next to each other. We're living in the same country. We're sharing the same society and environment, but we're talking past each other because we don't even talk to each other. With me is my friend Marco. Marco's out in Switzerland. What's up, homie? So what are you saying, man?
So it's interesting, English is the most widespread language in the world, right?
Yeah.
So because English, in fact, parts of India, there are certain regions that could not actually talk to each other because of the different dialects, and they used English to speak with each other. So in that case, it's been able to sort of unify the country to function in particular ways, right?
Yeah.
The issue with English, though, is that people can spin it and make accents and innuations. It's a very flexible language, right? You don't have the same flexibility in other languages, like in German. It's very precise. You said exactly this, not that, right?
Right.
In English, we say things, especially with colloquialism and stuff, right? Colloquialism is accepted into the language, where you say, that is, like in slang words, that's badass, right?
Right. Well,
like
because of
badass.
capitalism, slang is necessary for advertising, right?
Yeah. Well, for advertising and also just well, let's just say it's taken in, right? But the problem with that is that we're at a point where, although we speak English, two people are speaking the same English doesn't necessarily mean they actually understand each other.
Especially nowadays.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting is, we always understood when I was a kid, when we were kids, we always understood that American English is dynamic, that there is a book of British English, and so that doesn't change. And most languages have a book with the rules of the language, and we don't have such a book, right? Our language is, when there was a time when wasn't in the dictionary. Now and ain't are both in the dictionary. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, if you remember back in the melange days, right? In the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, in my opinion, people got a little bit uncomfortable because the linguistic contribution of the Black American society became accelerated through rap, right? Because back in the day, you could say, "Come on, baby, light my fire," and that's the only slang term that's in the whole song.
Right.
Whereas in a rap song, you can introduce 100 new slang terms in one 5-minute song.
Right. So it's created quicker in the smaller areas because it's kind of created in smaller groups. But American language has always been slang, right? I mean,
yes.
The writer Mark Twain? The way he writes, it's always been slang, right?
Exactly.
But I think the bigger problem actually is a couple of things, right? Back then, let's say, take us back about 100 years ago. If you and I were having a conversation, we actually have time to say, wait a second, did you mean badass, as in the ass is bad? Or do you mean badass like a bad donkey? Or, you know what I mean?
And then bad is in bad or bad is in good. Right.
Right, exactly. Bad is, and then you actually had time. Oh, okay, now I understand what we're talking about, Devin. We can proceed, right?
Right.
A couple of things that happened, though. The generation, the creation of these languages accelerated, right?
Yep.
On top of that, the amount of available information accelerated, and then the amount of time of dealing with it, like we have 5 minutes on this call, declined, right?
Yeah.
So basically, we only have that interaction, and what we're typically left with nowadays, first of all, since there's no formal way of saying it, I can get off this phone call and say, you know what? I don't think Devin really understood what I was saying. He understood that part, but not really, right? And it happens all the time. You can walk away and say, well, actually, you know what? We had a conversation, we didn't really understand each other, right? That's what's going on right now, you know.
That's
So
exactly what's going on.
the problem is the premise that you did understand each other. He goes, well, of course we understand it. Okay, later, bye, you know. But you're left off, and that's the issue now. We're all over the place, you know.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy, and we're not binding. And that example with that lady, man, that professor talking about, oh, you're transphobic and you're killing people by denying that they exist, and oh my god.
Furthermore, you know, when we have when especially in the political realm, right? These sound bites, these politicians exist. They do this for the sound bites that get played over and over. The more often it's played, the bigger the value for them. You know,
Mm-hmm.
she called me transphobic. She called me transphobic. And you know, Holly's transphobic. You know, all this stuff, right? And so, because of that, there's often a lot of intention in those conversations to twist the narrative in the 50 words that I'm about to say, right? To get my narrative across, right? And that's all I'm really concerned about. She was only concerned about adapting. I was in front of the Senate, and I looked good defending the transvestite community. That's all
right.
really.
That's all. You're right.
That's
And you could see the excitement in her eyes.
Oh, totally. She scored, right? And then she's gonna get pats on the back. She might get funding for these. That's all.
Yeah,
now, whether she really did anything,
yeah,
whether she's really done anything for any trans people has nothing to do with it.
No,
right?
No. She's thinking about all of the kudos she's gonna get back at Berkeley,
and that's it.
Exactly. Oh, you showed them. You
exactly. An ally, you know,
an ally, and you could tell by how smug she was, right? How, you know, her hope.
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And also for him too. I mean, he's like, wait a second. He got his.
Oh yeah. You're right. They were both speaking to their own teams. They were both speaking to their own teams because he knew what she meant. He knew what she meant. Right.
That's the sad state of our situation.
Yeah. Exactly. It is so goddamn polarized that the happy American center is losing its voice and losing its platform.
Oh, totally. I mean, you know, just like in your case, when you go in front of a judge and says you're using the wrong word, right? Basically, that undercuts and actually, like, you know, if you were trying to say something, right? That's like someone that's actually kind of abusive. That's an abusive position to be
I'm a neurofeedback clinician. Yeah. If you're saying that mental retardation doesn't exist, now you're saying that I don't exist. Now you're saying
another thing.
I don't have a purpose.
Exactly.
I don't have a purpose then. Okay, if I can't cure mental retardation because mental retardation doesn't exist, then there are no retarded people.
So the whole point is like in conversations, and we see this a lot. It's like almost like a Monty Python skit where you know that sword fight. He goes, well, okay, if I just cut off 2 arms and a leg, I got him. He's defenseless, right? You know, and that's the name of the game. You know, cut this topic. You know, what you gonna do now? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Boxing Helena. It's like the movie Boxing Helena.
Yeah, exactly, right? Exactly.
No, it's crazy, man.
It's crazy. And also, I mean, that's you know, when I was going through school as well too, my focus was about humanities and the liberal arts, right? Particularly because, you know, I was my main curiosity was about the development of the intellect throughout history, you know, and you know, we were able to study up to that point in time. That was before the internet and what have you. But the key part was about language. We knew exactly. We were studying Orwell. I don't think they study Orwell universities now. You know,
that's sad, man, because that was actually freshman year. Yeah. That was freshman year required.
Yeah. I mean, I think there are certain things they're like, oh, we can't deal with this now, right? Because we have a tranny agenda to push. I mean, you know,
right? I mean, that's really what it is, and it's really sad. Did you hear that now it's like 35% of the kids in the younger generation, or 40%, are claiming to be I guess we can call it sexually divergent.
So they say, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're in class, right? You know, they have like they're in class with like, I don't know, 30 other 40 people, and they go down the line and says, Bobby, what's your favorite color? You know, blue, Mrs. Reardon, blue, right? Purple, yeah, purple, kids, right? And then Johnny, do you like pink, right? And then the third question, I like pink, right? Pink, yes, that's a girly color, right? That's a girly color. And then they're twisting the kids' minds up to a point where, look, 5 of your friends who you play soccer on the field with, they think they could be 25% girl, right? What about you? Are you still 100%? Okay, today I'm 15%, right?
So you want to go in this closet and put on some lipstick? And hey, I'll let you wash it off before you go home.
Look, man, what they're not getting, what you're not seeing yet is there's a lot of people. I've met some, I've had friends. I have no problems with people who've gone through this stuff in their lives. A gender dysphoria issue. I know this British. I never really know whether she was a woman or a man or what. She might have gone back and forth 3 or 4 times, to be honest with you, from the story she tells me. But that's the whole thing. She went back and forth 3 or 4 times, not sure which one. And each time hoping that after I do this, I'm free and liberated and my problems are solved.
Yeah.
That's the problem. They're saying, little Johnny, if you're actually Jill, you'll be a much happier butterfly, right?
But
the problem is,
yes,
these kids, they grow up, wait, I've gone to Jill, back to Joe, and then now I'm Joanne, and my life is fucked up. Whose fault is this, right?
Right.
We haven't seen that yet.
Racial dolazol, right?
No, we haven't seen that yet. In fact, that's the whole thing. The whole empty promise is switch to gender. You'll be happy afterwards, right? All these kids are gonna come back pretty freaking angry.
They're gonna be all fucked up.
But they're gonna be pissed off at someone. I'll tell you that. They're gonna be.
It's gonna be like you change and then you can't change back.
So they say, right? No. You could, like I said, you could change, but it's not like, well, it's not your original penis anymore. It's half.
Whoa! Can you imagine? You know what I was thinking is, why don't we start a genital exchange, right?
Yeah.
That way, girls who want to be guys and guys who want to be girls, right? They can partner up. We could do a matching blood test, right? And then they can swap genitals,
So the bigger core problem for a lot of us, right? Like we've grown up and we have to deal with stuff. You were in the service, right? You've had to go through basic training. Sometimes you go through these trials. As a man, you do go through trials in life that you run the gauntlet, right? And you learn how to play it and beat it, right? That's the whole thing. And you gain confidence. Yeah, no, okay, that's I have some scars. I can go and do it, right? And you learn that you earn the prize, right? By going through it, pick up the scars, right? Because the prize is on the other end, right? So as men, we learn how to do difficult things. That's just a fact. Whether we like it or not, it's fucking difficult, but we do it, right?
You adjust, you adapt, and you improvise.
Exactly, right? And then reinvent yourself, and that's where you gain your strength, right?
Yep.
That's not what they're teaching here. What they're teaching is if there's something you don't like, you can manipulate anything.
And the world has to conform to you.
Exactly. And their thing is you can manipulate anything. You don't like it, change your mind. Think of yourself as a puppy girl or a kitty cat. And if they don't like it, it's because they hate you,
Yep.
What they're losing, what this generation is losing, first of all, I just can't see anyone or very few coming out of this with particular strength of character, right?
No, that's the problem.
Teachers. There's no strength. Yeah.
Creating a weak world. And you know what's really funny, man? The Russians are creating a strong world. They're going deliberately in the opposite direction. And so are the Chinese. The Chinese have a term for these crazy liberal people that are destroying our country. I don't know what it is, but they have a word for it.
The people on our side, they're so gung ho on defeating manhood, right?
That's what it is.
The male, it's like it's a bit kind of ridiculous. It's like I'd like to actually see them get confronted with a lot of this stuff. It's like that. What if you got a situation you need help and you need one of us, right?
Well, and it's gonna happen really soon, man, because what's really going on, and I think it may actually blow up. I'm hoping it will blow up in their face. They're trying to socially destroy us and materially destroy us at the same time.
Of course, of course.
Supply side, supply.
Of course.
They're trying to make it so that people are fighting each other in the streets,
and
then they can petition to the UN to send peacekeepers, and then we'll have foreign tanks rolling in our streets, and we'll lose a significant.
That's the idea, but it's all the thing is what they're concocting is a story narrative, right? It's all about a version of the story. The only question is which one you buy into yourself, right? And I cannot, because I know myself and I know certain things, I cannot buy into anything that negates what I already know, what I already am. It's a contradiction,
It's not going to happen. And you know what? Even if I could, I refuse to do it on principle.
Well, that's just it. But actually, even if you could, you're no longer really yourself. You're just kind of like you don't actually deserve it anyway. Like, you've like said you've done something you weren't supposed. It's like you violated yourself, right? I mean, the only way you can actually go through and do this is and that's exactly part of it. They're actually asking you to violate the sanctity of your own personhood.
Right. They're asking you to completely become somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's exactly the whole agenda. The problem is
like this. Just become somebody else. Just become somebody else. Just become some beta. Huh?
How do I do that? Hang on.
It's a filter, a program called Snap Camera.
On your camera, or is
on
it
the phone, on the computer? You got to install it first, right? And then you can put in all of the filters.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, yeah.
Right?
So
blue eyes, you can put green eyes.
So here's the thing, man. I kind of befriended this American guy here locally who moved out here with this wife and had a baby. He was one of those musicians that you'd see hanging around Sunset from North Carolina, right? But he was like kind of off already, right? Because he's all about I'm a bass player for this, and the kind of guy that drops out, the lead guitarist for Poison and all this, that little scam artist from the Sunset area, right? And some of these guys kind of they're missing a few things as well too, right? Because that's all they know, right? So basically, he was telling me that his dad was an FBI agent, and he has a sister, right? But he kept going on about these different MK Ultra programs that they used to have, and he used to explain this to me in detail as if he was really intimately had intimate knowledge of this. But I actually thought that he's just kind of mentally kind of unstable anyway, like kind of bipolar anyway, right? Because when you're bipolar, you can actually your imagination takes off on some of these. It's like they get it. But his point, their values are still the same. Their points are still the same, bro.
Yeah.
There were programs that were designed to split a personality, right? Through either shock or pain or something where the person becomes very, they don't exactly know who they are at this point, right?
Yeah.
Disintegrate
the person but through trauma.
They basically obliterate the personality, right? Mm-hmm. And the person's like, okay, who am I? And at that point in time, it's a lot easier to kind of insert a different identity in these people, right?
Yep.
Okay, well, actually, you're really this and that. It's not like Manchurian Candidate kind of stuff, right? Experiment. There were real experiments on that. The theory is these people, when you break them down early and you keep training them, they become really excellent operatives later. You can call on them you can send them on missions as an operative.
Like a Manchurian Candidate, yeah.
Exactly. That's the whole point. And, that's it's a little bit like Hollywood actors too, right? Because, these Hollywood actors, you don't really know what they really are in person, to be honest with you.
That's right.
You've seen them, right?
And then they go through these humiliation rituals that nobody knows.
those humiliation rituals are a bit like kind of you tear down the core personality, makes that person much easier to control.
Right.
It makes it easier for them to control themselves as well too.
That's
I
what
mean,
it, that's what it felt like I was looking at with the whole Will Smith slapping Chris Rock thing.
yeah, the Will Smith is kind of interesting too. I mean, because he was talking about his ayahuasca trips, right?
Will Smith?
Yeah. So apparently he actually kind of he was in an interview with David Letterman. He started talking about taking ayahuasca, and in his dream he came across himself losing everything he had, going out the window, kind of thing, right?
So you mean to tell me that the ayahuasca angels didn't tell him to leave Jada? Fuck out of here.
Yeah, right. So,
You mean to tell me he did an ayahuasca trip and came back and still was in love with
still
her?
there. Right. But
Yeah.
the thing is, and it's true though, that I think a lot of people deep down inside, like even someone like Will Smith, has a sort of a mechanism to try to self-sabotage. People want to self-sabotage their success as well too sometimes, so that they can experience a different slice of life to makes them feel alive. So
Well, and then it gets rid of the fear of losing it. Just throw it away.
yeah, exactly. It's like, well, no, yeah, that way I'm stress free now, right?
Right. I'm stress free and I have agency because it didn't slip through my fingers. I didn't fail.
No, exactly.
I chose. Right.
Exactly, right. And now I'm Will Smith. I'm gonna hang out in India. I won't even call myself Will Smith. I'm enjoying. I'll check out these Indian girls. I'm free.
Right.
You gotta. So for whatever reason, we don't know.
Run DMC's guy, the producer. What's his name?
Oh yeah, right. The guru, the
guru. Yeah.
yogi guy, right? I mean,
yeah, he's hiding. He's hiding from some rape charges right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but of course, no. He's
Russell Simmons.
Russell Simmons, yeah.
Yeah, Russell Simmons, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, we're talking about this because the thing is, he was for the longest time promoting yoga. I remember this,
Yeah.
Right. And he would go on interviews and I am so much at peace with myself now, and I could I can handle anything in my life. This and that. 2 weeks later, there was a newspaper article, a radio. Russell Smith was arrested at a bagel shop in Manhattan. He started going off throwing bagels at the bagel people because they didn't have his favorite bagel with onion. Like, you don't have fucking onion today? Like
Russell, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Right?
Russell. And then I'm also hearing about him raping girls and him and his guys raping girls in front of each other and stuff.
Exactly, right. So I think, but the thing of the matter is, I mean, I was just talking to someone about the same topic about a person's heart and changing your heart and this and that, right? A lot of people think, oh, I'm going to change my heart. I'm now a good guy like this, right? Yeah. But the problem is, I think we have a range. People have a range of possibilities, right? From the kindest to the meanest sort of thing, right?
Yeah, a spectrum.
And sometimes when you start saying, no, I'm only the kind one now, and I'm going to suppress and kill the mean one, right? Sometimes the mean one comes back up and says, what the fuck, right?
Oh, yeah.
Actually, all the time. Yeah. Same with the diet. When you're going to do a diet, sometimes, I'm not going to eat. Oh, I'm losing weight now, right? And then 5 days later, you eat more.
With a vengeance.
And you've gained weight, right?
Yep. That's what it is. But I don't know where we're going to head now, man, because it seems like, listen, man, honestly, I am never going to adapt my language. I mean, I'm just one of those guys. People are just going to have to side eye and hiss and say, well,
Devin, the problem is that because everyone can actually get on and post, and you can hear there seems to be transparency all over the place. The problem is that you have to retain yourself, though, right? And there's only one story that there's only one storyline they can possibly project. If you look at what this collective is saying, right? And the problem is that storyline really has nothing to do with you and who you really are, right? So,
No,
yeah. So I mean, I think it's like this, man. You either my perspective, I think you're gonna have to like compartmentalize that from who you really are, right?
Yeah.
Either that, or you can even better if you can dump it all together, like what Will Smith did, right? I do believe Will Smith is not you. You don't hear from him. I can't say he's unhappy, right? You know, he might be saying, "Oh, I'm not making any movies." I don't know. He could be saying, "I'm fucking relieved." I don't know, right?
Wait, they broke up, right?
I don't know. But the whole point is, I guess what I'm saying is that you know what you want to tie your identity to, right? If you try to go through like on the public square and say, my name is Devin Lockett, what is my identity? The judge will say, he's the guy that says the word retard, right? You know? Yeah. Oh, that's Devin, the guy that says retard. You know, the question is, who is going to define you, right?
Exactly.
Now, if you're going to let the public sphere try to define you, the fact of the matter is you can't freaking please everybody. Nor can you control what everyone's going to be saying about you, right?
No,
the only way you're going to do it is you give them a flat 2D picture and leave it there. Yeah. Well, what is that?
It's somebody. I'm in somebody's grill.
Okay. Right. So I think you just have to kind of. I mean, this is what the celebrities do, man. Like those models, the highest paid models, right? They look fucking good in stills, right? You shoot them, they're like model. But they don't really have anything in the brain, right?
Yeah, I know. I used to live in Miami Beach.
Right. I mean, there's nothing up there. It's just they look great, right?
Yep.
And that's all you're gonna get. It's like, okay, that's all you're gonna get. I mean, they could be brilliant behind it, but you don't need to do that. This is all you get. This is photograph. That's it, right?
Absolutely.
And so yeah. I mean, unless you had an actual plan to what you want to get to. Like, look, I want to. I mean, you could try this. Whether you want to kind of crusade for a healthier lifestyle with the Devin Lockett formula or something, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you had something very worthwhile that you want to, do and with that you feel is worth getting out there. I don't know.
I thought that health was going to be a safe haven from being attacked on my political opinions. And nowadays, because of the pandemic, right? Yeah. Being health related puts you more at risk of being labeled a radical than if you were just an opinionated guy talking about.
Yeah, right. But I mean, the whole point is, I don't think we should have anything to do with what they say, right? We don't have time to listen to what they say.
Yeah. No, you don't. I don't. And I don't, like I said, I don't see myself adapting to it. So, and I know that a significant percentage of the population, no matter how thorough they were with their Frankfurt School efforts, right? Hey, if you check out the Frankfurt School Wikipedia page, it's totally revamped.
Oh yeah, new ideas. Yeah. So no more. So it's like I will take a look at it because I'm sure some of them are freaking trying to run victory laps, right?
Well, now they're heralding the Frankfurt School as heroes of critical theory. Yeah. Not crazy Zionists that were trying to undermine our country and destroy it. No, they're heroes.
They're heroes. Okay, but you see, the thing is though that's actually all. I mean, the question is whether or not you actually accept that as your. And here's the problem: if you accept that as the reality, and the problem is if you go on social media, you watch TV, and you kind of see most of their garbage, you'd think that they're all over the place, they run the world, right?
Yeah.
And so what you're not really getting is 99.9% of humanity who's not even saying anything, right?
I know, but they're thinking. They are thinking.
Of course.
And, yeah.
I mean, look, some of them will be deceived into this. And what's becoming clearer as well is this whole sort of the narrative and the dichotomy of Satan the deceiver, right?
Yep.
the Luciferian
is the liar. Exactly.
The liar, right? And then the reality of who you are, right? So there are a half of the population do not have the critical faculties or the experience to see through this. And now, to be honest with you, they don't really care. They go, oh, okay, So, like, am I transgender too? Okay, I don't know. Yeah, they don't really care. It's like,
Right.
okay.
And then, of course, you're going to be feeling difficulties in life, and you're going to feel lonely, and you're going to have troubles.
Exactly, because
So you may think that your solution lies in wearing a dress.
Exactly, because that's exactly what they're doing. It's they're playing on people's isolation.
Right.
Right.
The human spirit, the normal human spirit.
What this is doing is isolated people to the quantity of one.
Mm-hmm.
They've broken down your identity. They've
Right.
broken down your gender. You can't even associate as an American guy anymore, because what's an American anymore? Because half of them was tranny. You can't even associate as someone from New Orleans. Well, I haven't been to New Orleans. You know what I mean? Every part of you that you might have used to kind of define who you are, right? They're chopping up, and saying, that's meaningless, and that's the whole point. The whole point is to isolate you, and what it is Devin, what it is they're trying to disempower you from taking a stance on any initiative that could kind of threaten them anyway, right?
That's all. That's all it is. Yeah. And any sense of unique identity.
Yeah, they don't want that.
Right. But see, the thing that's interesting for me, man, is that they're taking advantage of the natural progression of individuation, which means that we all become rebellious when we turn 15, 16, 17, 18, whatever, when we become teenagers and 20 somethings, whatever. And that is a struggle toward individuation. I do not agree with my parents. I have my own ideas.
You have to. Yeah, exactly.
Right. But what they're leading them to do is collective. What they're leading them to do is to have collective thought. At some point, they're going to want to shake the shackles of that. Though all of those individuals that are buying into all of this stupid bullshit, is going to go out of style.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, I think at the moment, they've been able to sort of get key points of communication and strangulate the flow of information. Right.
That's all it is. Just strangle. Exactly.
Yeah. But I don't believe it's possible to hold permanently for a couple of things. There's a guy named hang on one second. Naive. Hang on. I'll tell you his name. Okay.
Okay.
Where's his book? Why is they not crediting him for this? Here, Taleb. Nassim Nicholas Taleb, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, his name is Nassim Taleb. He's actually I think he's Jordanian, or he's from Lebanon, but he's actually a Christian. Or he's either a Christian or some what do you call it? Jews or something. I don't know exactly, right? But anyway, he's a social theorist, and a couple of things that he came out with a few years ago was called the Black Swan theory, right? Which you've heard of, the Black Swan. And the idea there is that, when you build up this situation where it seems like 90% of events fall within this range, right? The most powerful events and actions are the ones that you've been trying to avoid, the ones you've been trying to bury, and the ones that you've been trying to ignore, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That come up and slaps you in the face, and it has the power to destroy everything, right? An example is like Clarence Thomas, right?
Yeah.
That one ruling freaking revolutionized the whole landscape.
Yep. And he came out gangster saying, guess what? Gays next, birth controls next. Hey, I ain't mad at him.
No, I'm not. But okay, just want to point out that that one guy's paragraph or whatever it is, right? That Clarence Thomas did, just changed the whole landscape of conversation in America just like that. Okay. Now, he didn't sit there he hasn't been sitting there for the past 20 years saying, I'm going to design a way to freaking revolutionize America, right? That's not what he was always doing. In fact, every summer, most of it, he's in a mobile home with his wife going through, touring through Montana, this and that. There are pictures of him shooting pictures with people who don't really know who he is, helping them change a tire and stuff. He's just a dude with a job, right?
Yeah.
And most people don't recognize him if you saw him in the street helping you with something. You're like, Clarence? I mean, you're not going to say that, right? You know, most people would not recognize him. But anyway, what I'm saying is he was simply put in a situation when he did what he's always been doing, and the impact of it was beyond anything he himself could have planned, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's the whole thing, the whole story of humanity, right? Human nature. There's always something there that breaks down and revolutionizes a thing unexpectedly. And then when it happens, everyone's like, of course. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, man. Right. You know?
Yeah.
That's how it happens, man. It's not something, you know, it takes a lot of buildup to a buildup of sort of stress, right?
Yeah.
And then when it happens, it's like, Deb, you would call me and say, Marco, check it out, right? You know, you would see it and say, you know, we've been talking about that, right? You know?
Yeah.
That's how it's going to happen.
They're building, they're manufacturing consensus.
But it's not going to work though. They can manage. Yeah, they can do it for a while, but then it'll collapse.
Yeah. Yo, a Texas court ruled that Facebook can now face charges for sex trafficking.
Yeah.
Gotta love Texas, man. You gotta love Texas.
You know? I mean, I love seeing like the, you know, because you know the left, you know, these people, they have their sacred cows, right? You know,
They have their what?
Sacred cows. You know, like Twitter is like the big sacred temple for these people, right? Because it's the way that they can go in and get away with bullshit. You know, on Twitter. You know, they can ban people on Facebook. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really cool to see sometimes some of their institutions collapsing, you know?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. I'm just hoping we can tear it all down, man, because I really don't think that we're gonna mesh into some happy medium, right?
Yeah, you got I mean, what's difficult for you, particularly in California, man, you may kind of feel like sometimes you may be the only one that you think you're the only one there that actually thinks this way, because people aren't going to talk to you and just flat out say it, right?
Yeah.
You would see it in other communities. It's just that California is a little bit it's always been kind of like that. It doesn't really, it's all just surface kind of interactions anyway, you know?
Straight up.
Yeah. But I think in most other parts of the world, there are people getting together talking about what's that latest bullshit about, right? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. I think we're gonna have some type of drastic. I hate to say it. I'm not calling for war or anything, but there's going to be something drastic that is going to put all of that silly stuff in the past. It's going to have to.
I think, yeah. I mean, it's already kind of happening now. For example, it's taken a while to for example, people are finally saying all across the board that what the fuck's wrong with Biden, right? Before, you could not say that about a year ago because Biden is the answer to Trump, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So basically, if you're against Biden, it's because you're for Trump, right? You gotta love Biden, because if you don't love Biden, you must love Trump, right? But after 18 months, we're now seeing people more in the middle, you know, after realizing that, fuck, people are spending a lot more money on the cost of living, right? You know,
yeah.
That it's now safe to say, you know what, we're not going to keep them from complaining. What the fuck's wrong with Biden, right? You know, the media is recovering for him. You know,
it's hard to deny, man, that the man is old. He's senile. He can't do the job, man. And you know what? I'm glad. I'm glad, because if you listen to the young Biden, the author of the crime bill, I wouldn't want that man to be president right now.
No, I posted it to you. Basically, he was saying, if you have crack about the size of this quarter, automatic 5 years, right?
Right.
Yeah, I posted that on my Facebook thread.
Oh yeah.
His son.
Yeah.
So his if you have this much crack, 5 years automatic. He was saying, I crafted this bill with Thurman, Senator Thurman and stuff like that. He was taking credit for it. And then not only that, one of them had the great idea. Well, what about the death penalty? Well, we could actually think about that, for crack, right? Right. Here's his son videotaping his weighing his crack. What do you have? Like 2 kilograms? What the fuck?
Man, I mean, and Hunter, why are we not talking about this?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the media oppression of this information is obvious.
It's obvious, Devin. It has nothing to do with the merits of the situation. They've created an us versus them narrative now.
Right, and so no matter what people on our side do, they get away with it. And I mean, it's sad, man.
Yeah, downplay anything that doesn't work for your narrative. Is he for abortion? Don't put him down. He's for abortion. Right? Oh, he's anti-abortion. Well, throw him under the bus, right?
He's on a bus. Exactly.
But here's the problem with these people, right? The whole politics is based on tearing down and finding faults with their opponents, right? The problem is they don't have anyone on their side with as much virtue. Basically, they don't really have a standard of moral virtue.
No.
So they can pick out Trump said this because he's mean, but they don't really have a standard. So it's a bottomless pit. It's a bottomless slide. They have nothing better to offer.
Well, and the thing is, right, when they talk about, their sense of virtue is not hurting people's feelings. It's not about whether or not you have integrity, whether or not you're an honest person, whether or not, none of that matters to them. What they're talking about is, oh, well, you don't understand that it's feels before reals. You don't understand that this is the participation trophy generation. And, and we can call the world what we want to call the world, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it.
But
we can call men women, we can call women men.
I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, anyone could feel hurt about anything.
Personally, man, I am not. I took hypnosis at the Hypnosis Motivational Institute on Ventura Boulevard, right? And man, hypnosis is a pretty stressful process. It seems like it's not because there's the hypnotherapist is speaking calmly, but what they're doing is they're overloading your conscious mind, your critical faculty with message units. Yeah. They say that the telephone only has 7 digits because the brain can only handle 7 or 8 message units at once before you go into fight or flight. And then once you go into fight or flight, then your critical faculty is preoccupied and or shut down. So now you have access to the subconscious. So what they are trying to do is they're trying to cause the confusion that makes it impossible for people to even form cohesive thoughts, let alone express cohesive thoughts, because what we had already accomplished back when we were 2, 3, and 4 years old, which is concept, put it in words in a straight line, let it come out of your mouth. Now, concepts, put it in words, edit it. Okay, this guy wants to be called her. This girl wants to be called him. Men and women don't exist. Birthing people. This you can't say retarded about a retarded person. You can't call a midget a midget. You can't call a blind person blind. You can't call a deaf person deaf. And you're stuck. You're stuck because by the time you figure out how to say what you were going to say, you forgot what you were going to say.
Yeah.
You forgot what the core idea you were going to express. You forgot it.
Exactly. That's the whole point.
That's the whole point. Right.
Debilitate that personality. I mean, that's the whole point.
You didn't say Simon says. So I'm not listening to you when you say
debilitated. Exactly. That's the whole point. It's evil. It's evil, man. It really is evil.
Right. It is. It's totally evil. And to see someone, like I said, a judge, right? To see someone of that stature. Now, in California, that doesn't surprise me, right? Because education in California represents indoctrination, right? When I was at Cal State, man, I don't even think I recognized myself as a conservative at that time, right? But just to question the absolute leftist position of my professors, and these were professors that I thought were cool. Right. I mean, and one was a brother that was from the hood. He was from the jungle. He was from the blood hood, man, right there, by the Crenshaw Hills Shopping Center, right in that area. He's from Crenshaw area, right? I got along with him really good, right? Looked like he was kind of Creole. Man, one day we got into some conversation, and I think it was about just ownership, right? Like ownership of property and how valuable it is. Man, my man went so far left that even after the bell rang and the class was over and we had to go to another class,
he's heated up.
Oh my God, he's preaching to us, yelling at us while we're walking out of the class. Oh, ask your parents about eminent domain. They don't own anything. The government can come and take it. I mean, it's like he's proud.
Well, I think exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. He's proud. He's proud to say, you don't have any power. You don't have any freedom. I work for Big Brother. You know what I mean? And Big Brother can take your house anytime he wants to. You just be lucky. You're just lucky he didn't do it yet.
Yeah. Disgusting. Yeah, I got you. The what was I gonna say? This disconnect, right? Like you said, with all these things that they're talking about, like not saying that word that you said to the judge,
right?
It's pretty new, right?
Yeah.
I mean, within 5 years, 10 years.
Dude, I looked it up. The official document that was published by the California courts, right? That stated all of the non-speakable words, right?
What year?
2019.
Exactly, right? Exactly.
2019. I've been a neurofeedback clinician dealing with retardation since 2014.
So what you're seeing there is that this thing can actually, even where they're at now, what that means is it could be changing 2 years from now, basically.
Of course it will.
So
it will.
Basically, back to that situation of the legal system where you have, the judge is playing God, right?
Right. That's all it is. Yeah.
That's what it is. And so what?
And she passed a very, very unfair verdict, knowing that it was unfair.
So this is exactly why, if you look at the history of like the Cultural Revolution of Mao, right? Where they really dragged out teachers out into the yard, flogged them, killed them, and were done by children.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
The killing.
Coincidentally, the judge and my opponent in court were both Chinese.
Yeah, great. The Khmer Rouge, the killing field with that they were using the young children, right, who had no history, and they basically implanted a narrative. The older people are bad.
And it was righteous to slaughter the most educated people of your society
because they are out to kill you. Exactly, that's the whole point. Because they were programmable.
Right.
That's why you see it. And so they will use that. And the issue though is that even they have a shelf life. You see.
Yeah, of course.
The judge has a shelf life. You see. What they're setting up a mechanism where it could be a even younger and smaller elite that's gonna fuck everyone over.
Right. And it will be because that's their tool. That's their tool.
Exactly.
When it's time for them to flex their muscles, they take advantage on the malleability of young minds.
Exactly. So I mean that's why, like, we see that young Swedish girl with the Down syndrome. The environmental Greta Thunberg. Greta.
Yeah. Now I think her mom drank when she was pregnant. I think it's.
I think so, probably
fetal alcohol. Yeah, her mom was.
That's what it looks like, right? But the way, like, you've stolen my dreams and my childhood, right? And people are like, oh, how dare you? Yeah. So it's just like, oh, look at poor child. But they're underestimating the amount of rage this damaged generation can inflict when they come into,
when they come of age. Yeah.
I mean, this is even those the younger generation from the Florida high school shooting, the dude and that girl, the gun control people, their school was shot up or something,
Yeah.
all of a sudden we have to turn this over. That's the freakiness, man. That's actually they're cultivating this.
Yeah,
Right?
Of course.
At the moment, even Biden benefits from this shit, right?
He knows it, yeah.
Yeah, but a time will come where this will be splitting off and doing their own shit. You see?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, man, I think what they're going to try to do is try to get Biden back in, and the only way that they can do that is to steal worse than they stole last time.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to try to do that, sure.
Or they're going to steal the election.
Yeah.
And Biden already announced that there's going to be another pandemic. So
yeah,
I guess around 2023 is when it's going to be released, right? Yeah, and it's going to make mail-in ballots, necessary, and and I think it may be. And even Bill Gates said, if you don't want to vaccinate for the first pandemic, you're definitely going to vaccinate for the second. So what is the second one? Monkeypox? I think monkeypox might have slipped out a little bit too early in the game. You know what I mean? Where it's something where you're so grotesque that you're just going to take the damn vaccine. You know what I mean?
Right. So, I mean, I think it's going to be kind of like, when the technology has been bringing us towards some sort of coagulation of thoughts and ideas because we can distribute it so quickly and easily, But the problem is not everyone is catching up to the same ones. And the ones who are actually leading it, we don't really want to buy into, right?
Exactly.
And so what I'd actually like to see happen, and this is something 100% I have control over, right? I can choose to reject all the bullshit that I see here. I do, right? They're coming up with all this. I can just say, it's bullshit. I'm nothing to do with me, nothing to do with what I believe in. In fact, I would gladly say something about it I don't like, It needs to fragment, right? At the moment, they think they can just bully someone into submission because there's many of us. There's only one of you, right?
Right.
But the irony of this is done in the name of inclusion, diversity and inclusion, right? But at the same time, they're not going to let any diversity in this. They're not going to include anyone with diverse opinions, right?
Fascism has always resided on the left. Always.
It's always been. Oh, totally. Even the whole idea. Yeah. I mean,
the Nazis, right? National Socialists.
No, I mean, a lot of people. The thing is, people say, "Oh, that's a right wing." I mean, that the National Socialists is actually a combination between a socialist and some nationalist workers group, right? Mm-hmm. It was a workers' party. They basically wanted to work because after World War I, they had nothing, right? And so
6 million jobs were created. That's where the 6 million number came from.
From where?
From Hitler's Build Back Better program.
So right. So the thing is though, the whole idea was about it was definitely wasn't an individual collective thing, right? And like what Candace Owen was actually saying about this point, which is actually really true as far as the socialism of the Germans versus the socialism of the Russians, right?
Yeah.
The Russians tried to spread out socialism globally, internationally, in a we business, right? Right. The Germans used it for their own sort of nation state. We are socialists.
Right. Listen. Hitler and Abraham Lincoln, right? Both committed the same crime, okay? Which was they figured out how to print money.
Yeah.
And the money printers, and let's see how carefully I can navigate this. The money printers, right? The people who feel arrogantly that they have the right to do that, they don't want anyone else to do that under any circumstances. Or you'll You'll die. Yeah. That's a power. That's the power to declare something to have value of fiat. The power to declare something to have value is something that only that arrogant small group of people claim the authority to have, right?
Yeah.
Because it's so powerful
Oh yeah.
That if you apply that same principle to just your one nation,
Yeah.
you're going to have the most powerful nation in the world.
Of course. Of course. Yeah.
And so but it was designed. Well, it's not designed. It is intended by the people who manipulate the system for global domination.
Right.
Hey! Don't start creating that fiat money out of thin air and making wealth appear. Not until we have every single body on board.
Yeah, exactly.
Including Russia, Iran, North Korea, South Korea.
Exactly. I mean, if you look at the whole sort of Arab Spring thing, when you start seeing Tunisia, Algeria, Egypt, Syria, this and that, these were places that had no central banks at the time. You see.
Yeah.
That was a problem.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
That was a problem. They didn't have, there was no control over their economy, right?
And therefore over their resources.
Exactly, or just no leverage and pull, right? Now you look at a company like Ghana recently, right, where they have full control because it's like Ghana, right? It's like a small country. They were producing so much for themselves, enough electricity and enough food that by their own standards they were feeding themselves. They were selling it to their neighboring countries. They were doing well, right? They came back and says, "We have a green program for you, Ghana," right?
Yeah, the U.S. did that.
Would you say U.S.? I mean, I don't know.
UN, yeah.
Well, it was actually the banks, to be honest with you. I mean, it's a finance, it's a finance.
Right.
The trade-off was, we'll fund you. We'll give you a line of credit. That was,
right. So basically, a line of credit that they didn't really need.
They didn't really need. It only promised them more something. Promised their elites something, So part of it was getting them on some sort of environmental rating credit system. It's basically the Paris Climate Accord, that you'll score high according to my standards, right? And and you'll benefit from it and so on.
So basically, in order to maintain this lie of currency, this lie of the fiat currency, you must believe all of the other lies that we throw at you. That you're polluting the planet too much.
Exactly.
We can measure it and tax you appropriately.
Exactly. It's control.
Yeah, it's control. Total control.
But the problem is though,
and you don't have enough men marrying men, and you don't have enough women killing their own babies.
Exactly. So the problem, that's exactly what it came up to. The problem though is that if you look at what happened to Ghana afterwards, all of a sudden they started experiencing rolling blackouts. Right? Oh. Wait a second. They never had rolling blackouts before. All of a sudden, why is it that they're having rolling blackouts? Right. And then all of a sudden they said, okay, well, you should no longer use this kind of fertilizer for your farming. You should use this biodegradable, business fertilizer. But now it's not producing. And then when they had rolling blackouts, it turns out, our water system's being pumped by electrical pumps that's not getting out there. Now our crops are not. Ghana's freaking crashing. They didn't need this. They didn't need the Paris Climate Accord.
They didn't need it, man.
They didn't need it, and now their people are hurting, right? So that's it. That's what another example. Sri Lanka. You look at what Sri Lanka's freaking collapsing right now.
Yep.
Yeah, all because of the same bullshit. They set them up in a program, right, to control, to regulate their ratings, right? Their goodness rating, right? And they're collapsing,
Yeah. What's going on in Holland, man?
So in Holland, what happened in Holland was that a few weeks ago, their government signed a commitment that controlled what their farmers are able to do, putting them again on this ESG system of good behavior. But it's putting in so much as far as what they can use, what they can produce, what kind of energy they're allowed to have, and this and that. What they're producing. Is it real meat? Is it 50% fake meat? And stuff like that. All kinds, is it aligned with our agenda or is it not, right? Because we have a new rule, by in about 5-10 years that 50% has to be aligned to the Great Reset agenda. Right?
No, dude. They're taking their land, 30% of their fucking land,
essentially,
and they're seizing it for they're calling it for carbon reasons.
Exactly.
what do you call that? Methane, whatever, cow farts or whatever, and they're giving it to homeless people that are immigrating into the country.
Okay, so there's all kinds of stuff like that. So basically, what it is
it's a deliberate effort to just totally.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just one aspect. There's many aspects of it. So basically, what they're saying to most of these farmers is that, listen, you don't really own that land, right? We're allowing you to own it, and we're going to change our mind. That's basically what they're saying, right? So the problem is, and one of the, like Bill Gates a few years ago bought a grocery chain in the Netherlands, right? And this grocery chain started producing a lot, promoting a lot of like fake meat products, right?
Really?
You know? Yeah, it's like Beyond Meat, you know, and then all of that. They've been pushing electric vehicles and this and that, right? And ironically, right at about the same time that they've gotten into this whole system in the Netherlands, the government starts responding with certain targets, like, you know, by 20 something, you know, we have to use electric vehicles and we have to use, you know. And so what they ended up doing, what the farmers ended up doing is they burned down his operation.
What?
Yeah. So I mean, at least, you know, they're basically the people in the Netherlands are reclaiming their own sovereignty, right? You know.
Yeah.
I mean, the globalists are patting the presidents in the back, saying, "Oh, that's exactly a good president there, controlling its own people," right? You know. That's for the globalists. You see, the role of your president is to clamp down on your own people. The role of your government is to clamp down on your own people. That is what that's the way the globalists see it, right? It's just that on a nationalist level, for a nationalist, the goal of your government is to take care of the well-being of your people. That's what I grew up with. That's why that's why you sign up for the military. That's why people fight and defend their homeland, right? Because we're all looking out for each other, right? But when it turns out that your government is actually not looking after you, right? Why?
Why?
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's see what these Amsterdammers have to say.
That's the president.
There is still a lot of money.
Oh, that's their president?
The existing Next Gen EU fund, there is still a lot of money, which is also partly funneled towards greening our economies. And that's exactly what we need to do to become less gas and oil dependent.
So the climate policies is actually going to be on a global scale. So if it comes to Germany, which it already is, are you guys going to rebel and fight back?
Yeah, we are. I would. I don't know about the rest of the people, but yeah, I think yes.
The farmers are an important part of the economy, yeah?
Of course, yeah.
Katie Davis Court here with Rebel News. We are out in Amsterdam today.
Fair use.
Interviewing the locals to see what they think of the ongoing farmer protests happening all across the Netherlands. Right now, the government has imposed
Pause this for a second.
restrictions on the farmers.
Huh?
So I've been spending a lot of time in the Netherlands lately. I've been going to been going there pretty often as well too.
You go to Edam? Yeah.
What you need to understand is Amsterdam is a very small pocket, right?
Yeah.
And of tourists and people in certain kinds of businesses, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't really. And whenever there's a mess in the Netherlands, the general attitude is, as long as they're doing it in the center of Amsterdam, I don't give a fuck. Let them do whatever they want. Just don't come out from there. Leave it there. They'll bring it out. So most Dutch people actually don't despise Amsterdam. So what you're going to see in Amsterdam is not a reflection of the Netherlands.
Ah, yeah.
Now, she's going to Amsterdam, but most of the people in Amsterdam are not actually Dutch. I mean, some locals, but yeah, a lot of them are trafficking or immigrants coming through or doing drugs or prostitution.
Yeah.
So it's not, and they have a more they have a different set of priorities than the farmer. Farmer is actually trying to produce goods, right? So anyway, go ahead, play it.
All right, hold on. Let me hit the thing here. Hold on. Yeah.
And they have partaken in an uprising across the country, blocking roads. And we're going to see what the people in the city think, because the farmers seem to think that the city people are out of touch with the rest of the country. And we're going to see what they have to say.
The masses are really going in because they're not agreeing what's going on right now. So they take a stand. So that's pretty rebellious, and I love it.
I respect them because we need a lot of produce for them, a lot of milk, a lot of cheese, everything. They make good things for us, so they have to do something about it for the farmers too.
Do you think the government has gone too far with their climate policies, which is why the farmers are fighting back?
Yes, I really do. I think so, and that's why I am behind the farmers, because I see a lot of farmers are trying to do their best for everything, to make everything prepared to help us, and the government here is not doing anything about it.
It's like somebody else is pulling the strings. It's like I think that the governments have been infiltrated. It looks like it.
It's really tough, It's because the environment is also really important, but I also understand that they are losing their life, basically. So it's a hard question.
So are you supportive of the farmers in their protests?
Yes, I am.
To use tractors blokken roads, blokken distribution centers against the exports, and they don't earn enough money. So yes, that's.
Can they win this fight?
What?
Can they win this fight?
Yes.
Oh, I'm really not informed on that, to be honest. I'm an expat here, so I don't feel like I should make a comment about it.
How long have you been here?
I've been here 10 years, but I live pretty much in the expat bubble, so I wasn't really exposed to it.
But since you live here, it's going to affect you. The farmers are rebelling, and they supply the food.
He doesn't want to get fired.
I should inform before I make a statement.
Has the government gone too far? So the government is seizing some of their land.
And then have to go home.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Basically, seize your land. What would you do?
To be honest, I'm not the one to mess around with it, so I'll be like nice and classy at first.
Yeah.
Listen to me. I will attack you too. Period.
Yeah,
That's
of
a man,
course, I
right?
think people should start from something when something's being taken away from them. So yeah.
So the climate policies is actually going to be on a global scale. So if it comes to Germany, which it already is, are you guys going to rebel and fight back?
Yeah, we are. I would. I don't know about the rest of the people, but yeah, I think yes.
The farmers are an important part of the economy. Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The farmers are crazy, or what is happening to them is crazy.
Farmers. I suppose the farmers, yeah. I'm angry about it. Yeah, I'm really.
Has the government gone too far?
The government is crazy, really. Yeah, really. That's my opinion. I don't more have to say about that.
What would you say to the prime minister if he was here?
He's a liar, and he has to go away.
If these policies are enacted by the Dutch government, the farmers believe that it will collapse the industry and there will be food shortages and their land will be lost.
That is.
So much.
Oh, sorry about that. What'd you say, baby?
The existing
Hold on.
next gen.
I thought it was over.
Has to go.
Food shortage. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. If you liked our content,
So I guess that's pretty rebel news. Yeah, I'm going to subscribe to her. Let me subscribe right quick.
The existing next gen.
Subscribe to that.
So what you're seeing there, Devin. It's a process of social disintegration as well too. The ideology of we want abortion, although you don't really need an abortion. All of a sudden, I'm going to be fighting for abortion. I'm not planning one, but I should fight for one. For example, all this is to soften up, right, on both sides, the resistance to these things that they're trying to implement.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's like, look, the people on the left have to give up, and the people on the right have to give up because all people have to give up.
That's the point, right?
It's a top-down.
It is.
I don't even want to call it a revolution, man. It's just some top-down bullshit.
Well, I mean, it's government, it's control, right? Yeah,
that's all it is. That's all it is.
Create high quality.
All right, fuck that. All right, let's see what they're talking about. They say they're spreading across Europe.
Well,
have people been protesting in Switzerland?
Well, the thing is, depends. This happened. This is nothing new. This happens every summer, right?
Really?
Sure. From one reason or another. And the whole point is that these are allowed to, like in France, they had the yellow vest people that were protesting for a while.
Yeah, what happened to the yellow
exactly, right? That's exactly the point. What happened to them, right? It's exactly the point.
Did it just shut down or what happened?
Exactly, right? So just the same question of what you're going to see here. Are they going to be doing this week after week? Like, what if, people are just going to back up? The fact of the matter is,
Yeah.
they're going to tire.
What happened to the Canadian truckers?
Yeah, they tired, right? Basically, you still can't go into Canada without a vaccine, right?
You serious?
Yeah, I mean, you
can't
get a fine.
visit?
No, I think you can visit, but if you're Canadian and if you went out and you come back in and you haven't gotten your vaccine, you're in trouble.
Wow.
Yeah. So I have a friend who was in Canada, went out to the States for a doctor to California, came back, and they stopped him at the border. He said, "Why da 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 da?" And they took out his information and writing him letters, and he's in trouble, right? So, but what was I gonna say? The protests, they tire, right? The protests are just but the bigger issue really is all on a day-to-day activity, back to what we were talking about, do you let them define who you are, or are you going to live according to who you are, right?
Well, like I said, man, when I started in econ, right?
Yeah.
They gave me the chart. They give everybody the graph, and they showed the Gini index, right? The gap between rich and poor, right? Gross income inequality index, right? And they say that with the existence, with the prolonged existence of capitalism and or spreading of capitalism, the Gini index is on a constant upslope. However, the rate at which we are raising the level of poverty up is supposed to be at a more acute angle. I mean, this is a completely fabricated graph, right?
Right.
Completely fabricated graph. But they're saying that the Gini index is going up like this, yet the rate of pulling people out of poverty is going up like this. So that's the justification for capitalism, right? Okay, that's fine. I get along with that. But my professors never answered the question. Okay, that's fine. I'm glad that what we call poor is considered middle class in most of the rest of the world. I'm really glad of that all poor people drive BMWs and have flat screen TVs.
Exactly. It's a relative term.
Yeah, it's a relative term. I'm glad to see that. But we are still not paying attention to the other line on the graph, the other graph of the Gini index. Now we've reached a point where the rich are so goddamn rich that even though we're comfortable and we're not greedy, so we think, oh, let them be filthy rich. We don't care. Long as we're not starving, long as we're okay, we can shake our ass on the weekend. We can raise our families. We can do all things and have our jobs and have our cars and shit. Everything's fine. However, those motherfuckers got so much money now that they can now buy entire industries and entire governments. And that's what they've done. And that's what they've done.
Yeah, they are doing it. So especially because they group it together, group their wealth together to
they group their wealth together and they say, okay, what do we basically the Georgia Guidestones all over again.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
So right. So the thing is though that there's two parts to this. As far as you're right about poverty. What does poverty actually mean, right? Because back then poverty means you can't get a loaf of bread, right? All of a sudden, it's like, wait a second, poverty means, you're just not going to get the refrigerator with the ice maker. Yeah. Right. It's like, poverty means, your internet connection is not the,
Right. Running water is a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
Sewage is a foregone conclusion. Trash pickup, electricity, all of that shit, we take it for granted now.
But the real question, though, is the real index is not so much the actual value of the money or the amenities, right? For me, as far as your expression of your life, right, the real one is how much leeway, exercise do you have over how you're spending your life, producing value, creating things, or do you have the ability to think, act, and live, right? Do you have your own volition? Can you do something different, or are you actually trapped where you have to get up at 7 in the morning and stay there till 7 in the evening? Doing some shit, and you have an hour to drive, an hour to back, and you really have 2 hours of your life to yourself, right? Which is really the question. that, I mean, oh yeah, no, I'm an executive of Amazon. I'm making 6 figures. Fuck that. I'm making 400,000, 500. When was the last time? When was the last time you were at home, change your underwear? Well, I was at home for 2 hours. I had to get up and I had to take a call with this. These fuckers have no lives, right?
Hey, or like I say, when is the last? And I don't do this often at all, but I'm glad that I have the right to. When is the last time you just didn't get out of bed because you didn't feel like it?
Exactly, right? That's really the bigger question: is how much of this apparatus is actually preventing you from actually living, right?
Right.
And then that's a bigger question than how much money you have, because the money, you can have all the money in the world and not have that.
Well, you see, that's why they're trying to sell us on you will have nothing and you will be happy bullshit.
Supposedly, or whatever it is that they're selling us, they're trying to sell us. But the real question we need to ask ourselves, right? I think when you have this is what I hear a lot from people, even with a lot of money, where someone's on their deathbeds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they would say certain things like, I would trade all my money in the world for another day with this one, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's really the question, man. How are you spending your life today, and where are you investing it, and what are you getting back? I don't think you should be measuring it according to the lines that they've drawn for you.
No.
You have to reclaim that.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Well, I mean, the lines are really dealing with it on the macro level. But yeah, I think that way all the time, man. It's like, when my dad was my age, I think he was ready. He was starting his kind of semi-retired way of life. And he started getting to the point of, hey, you know what? Smell of roses, man. Start enjoying your life.
No, totally, right? I mean, that's what I was telling you when you were walking with Kai on Sunday. That's the best way to spend Sunday, man. That's much better than, what do you want to do? You want to sit in like a $300 buffet, all you can eat on somewhere, the Queen Mary? What do you want, Long Beach? Whatever, right? But really, would you rather like do that, hang out with other people, in gluttony, or spend some time with Kai? You would, in the retrospect, you would have chosen to spend time with Kai, right? So
absolutely, and with or without money, that's the beautiful part about it, right?
Exactly.
I can have or not have, and still say, hey, you know what? Let's go work out. Let's go do some simple things.
I mean, these controls, like the rate of inflation. Like I was hearing here in Germany, when inflation hit, right? People had to take grocery bags with cash with them to bring the necessities,
Yeah, because they would the bankers devalued the currency.
I mean, good conversations to have are people who actually experience this, because I think that's where you're kind of headed as well too, in the States and maybe here as well. Like in Brazil, but when it was crashing, as soon as they had the money, they had to go and spend it as quickly as possible,
because the next day it would be worth half of what it was.
Exactly, and so the actual number value is a little bit is relative, because it's fiat money anyway. We know that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, they were devaluing the German money. Well, basically, they were running out of countries that would accept it, and so the countries that would accept it were giving them crap rates.
Right.
And yeah.
Same thing happened with Zimbabwe, same with Rhodesia, and this and that, right? But the point being is that I think we have some balances against that. I think people have diversified enough assets there. The beauty of it is, what I was trying to tell you a while back, is if you owed $1 million for some a plot of land, and if it should crash and it goes to $1 million is worth 100, you would have actually gained. All you have to do is pay $1 million for something worth 10 million, for example, right?
Yeah, of course.
So the money thing is a bit kind of. I think it's going to take it's going to be a tricky thing to navigate. I mean, it's not going to be hard. It's not going to be easy to plot rationally how you're going to get through this.
Inflation, deflation, the rise and fall of the interest rate.
But
whether that's good or not, it just depends on how much you save versus how much you are leveraged.
I mean, that's exactly it. It all depends also on what you're valuing and what you're investing into, right?
Yeah.
Like what you're saying. I mean, you're spending time developing on things that are on your own. That means being able to conduct business, being able to produce value, being able to communicate, selling something to someone, providing a service to someone, or the basic stuff of value generation, I think those are still valid, right?
Yeah.
And so one thing is that this social climate is disintegrating it, where people don't actually talk to people. A lot of relationships, and this is what I'm hearing, I believe it's true. I mean, it's freaking disintegrating, right? Like, you're probably not talking, you're still not talking to Chia, for example, right? You know? It's like, I mean, I know people in the States I'm not talking, no, they don't want to talk to me either, you know, because I'm too opinionated, right?
Oh, dude, no. I mean, I'm still not talking to half the black people that I lost during the Trump administration.
Exactly, right? You know, so, but the thing is, though, I believe ultimately they will be your source of survival, right?
At a certain point, yeah.
At a certain point, just like you are theirs, and, you know, but the problem is, I mean, it's weird. I had, like, you remember, you know, U2's Bono, right? You know,
Yeah.
He's over at the Ukraine saying, you know, protect the Ukrainians. You know, what Boris Johnson's donating 300 million for whatever bombs and missiles, right?
I'm so sick of Bono's self-righteous bullshit, man.
I mean, seriously, the question is, is
Catholic's a bad name.
I mean, no one's actually asked. No one's bothered to ask, why is this happening? How can we actually figure out if there's a way we can talk this out and settle it, right? No one wants to do that.
Nobody, no.
That also means no one does that in a personal life these days.
I know, and it's an orchestrated environment. It's orchestrated to be that way. I think that was the main reason behind the masks.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, it just kind of alienated you from other people. The politics of the news are just freaking alienated from other people. You know,
alienated the whole world from each other. Nobody's talking.
But you know, I think this is really your way back, though. This is our way back to actually to getting through a lot of this. You will need some of these connections and people. The only problem is, like, I don't know, you know, people don't know who they can trust, right? They don't trust each other. You know?
Yeah. And I'm selling them on right now, selling them. But I mean, it seems to me, and it's natural because it just comes out. I don't sit down and write, well, I'm going to make this video, whatever. But it seems like the natural thing that I come to is we're going to have to learn. We're going to have to recognize that we're all Americans, that we're all in this together. And we're going to have to figure out how to love each other, because the bottom line is, hey, man, we could very well lose the dollar. And people don't realize that. We could lose the dollar like that.
I'm pretty convinced, though, that there is a hunger for what we're talking about that people are not admitting.
I know.
Because I know I have it, right? I know you have it. There's a hunger for, dude, can we just chill out and, you know, get back to community?
Americans,
right?
Whatever happened to, I don't agree with you, but I'll fight for the death.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Right?
Exactly, right?
That's America.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'm pretty convinced that there's a need and a hunger that's basically, if you went out and did that someone's going to try to vilify you in the process, I'm sure.
Of course.
They'll look at, this is Devin Lockett. He went to court and called people retarded, you know, or something.
Right.
You know?
Right. That's what they're doing to Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is as center can get. Right. You know? So, but he listens to people on both sides. And so...
Right. But I think it's pretty clear, though. I mean, a lot of I actually think that it's already peaked.
It has to. It can't get any stupider. You're calling boys girls and girls boys. You're saying men can have babies. I mean, it can't get any more ridiculous. It can't. Even if we let you go with this and you try to push it further, I mean, I know where you're going to go with it. You're going to say
exactly pedophilia and shit.
Right. We can bang animals and kids. They're trying to turn into total Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah, totally. So I actually think in the minds of most people, like, okay, that's peaked. I don't. The only thing is they're gonna deny that it's peaked. You know, the media's gonna still prop up a story. You know, but it's gonna be an artificially propped up story, right? Yeah. And the only thing that's gonna kind of feed it is if you actually attacked it. They go, oh no, now we're under attack, right? You know, right? You know, they want to be. They're doing that. They want to be attacked so they can say, oh, there's a reason why we want to go even more extreme because we're under attack. You know, But the fact of the matter is, I think if you just said ignore this shit, it would fall. It would just kind of collapse.
Exactly.
Let's see. It's not nowhere to go. You know.
Let's see what other countries these fools are talking about.
Right.
Farmers are protesting about rising costs and government restrictions put on livestock. Man, and fertilizer use in a bid to cut carbon emissions. %40.
Right.
So what are you gonna do? Put diapers on them?
Yeah, exactly, right? Or something.
And it's all because of climate, which is dubious at best.
This was pushed on through the political parties in the EU to the president, right? Coming from typically Brussels and the banks and WEF, basically. You know, it's the agenda. That's an agenda.
That's all it is.
Agenda. Right. So,
Wow. It's the bankers, man. India's.
yeah.
We're flooded with ill-informed news. You hear that?
Yeah.
Several dozen. Wow. Falsely human rights issue was raised in some campaigns we're running only.
Yeah. All right, Indians, yeah, because oh yeah, that's happening in the Philippines as well, man. Basically, see, we had a journalist, a Filipino journalist, that was basically trying to inject the same ideology and support it in the Philippines, right?
Yeah.
And she was given a Nobel Peace Prize, actually.
Really?
Huh?
Really?
Maria Ressa. Go look up Maria Ressa, right?
Maria Ressa?
Yeah. Filipina from CNN, right? So, I mean, it's just so obvious. They propped up this reporter. That's her. And she won a Nobel Prize. And she's doing all this stuff, right? For what? We don't really know what the Nobel Prize was. But she's trying to establish a control point for information by starting this company there called Rappler, which is kind of like a Twitter for the country, so that the globalists have a channel into the political arena. That's the whole point, you know.
Whoa!
Yeah. But she's getting a lot of resistance, and in some cases she got arrested at one point, right? But now it looks like they're clamping. I mean, Filipinos are clamping down on free press, supposedly, right? Okay. Liberal press. But she actually has an agenda, you know.
Let's see. 3 hours ago, Rappler and
Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, Nobel Peace Prize recipient Maria Ressa faced legal setbacks. Oh, Maria, what's up? The independent news site Rappler, get out of my face. Co-founded by the Nobel Peace Prize winning journalist Maria Ressa and subject of the 2021 Frontline documentary 1,000 Cuts, has been hit with major legal setbacks in recent weeks. In late June, the Philippine government took steps towards shutting down the website. Yeah. Then on July 8th, the country's Court of Appeals upheld cyber libel conviction against Ressa, Rappler CEO. Ressa and Reynaldo Santos Jr., former Rappler researcher, writer. So these were like they were on the globalist side, right?
Yeah, exactly. They were actually pumping out news with a perspective and narrative that they like, basically, right?
Yeah. They're not trying to play that transsexual stuff in the Philippines, though. No.
Oh, they are. They're doing all this stuff. Yeah, they're trying as well too.
Oh,
but the thing is, it's a little different there because it's not
the popular is kind of part of the culture. Yeah.
No. It's just like it's like, oh, you're a tranny. It's like, yeah, okay, we know you're a tranny. You're still the cousin, but just shut up. And
right.
I don't care. It's not like I'm going to say, I'm a tranny, and you have to like,
it's in your face. Yeah.
If you don't like it.
What if you wear a dress, man?
As if we cared, right? But
nobody cares.
So it's not that effective there. It's not effective in India because in India they actually have sex of people who are like transgender. in
Really?
certain temples, Hindu temples for transgender.
Okay.
And they've
Okay.
always said, okay, the transgender go. And some of them are like musicians, and they hire them for wedding concerts. and stuff.
Okay.
So they sort of like had this niche role.
Niche class. Yeah.
I mean, they're like eunuchs. Eunuchs also had a niche role. You know, they like right. You know,
Yeah,
Like,
the African slaves that were castrated by Arabs.
right. So but they still had a role in society. It's like you weren't really. You know, it's not. It's only in the U.S. where you say, you know, I'm the bearded lady or whatever.
Yeah, specifically to make you uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly right.
Oh, you're not uncomfortable? What am I wearing this dress for? Frontline of appeals, cyber libel is what they're saying.
Well, it's basically they're reporting stuff, and then the thing is that the U.S. journalists have sort of gone through the deep end as far as the amount of propaganda they use in their content in America, right? They're applying the same sort of sensibilities here.
Yeah,
and it's just not flying over there, you know.
Yeah. So homeboy is still the president.
Duterte.
Yeah, he's still president.
No, he's gone.
Oh, because they showed her picture and his picture.
Yeah, because he's the one that busted her.
Ah, really? So he's still in the government.
Yeah, well, he busted her, and he just said no, it's not that won't go, right? And so, and then
he's like, I don't have to be the president to say this is wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Then it's repeated a million times.
The critically acclaimed film about one woman's fight.
I'm Maria Ressa. Maria Ressa carries the torch of press freedom in a country held in thrall by a populist president.
Demanded the government be held accountable.
The charges against Ressa were aimed at intimidating those who challenged.
I mean, she looks kind of ambiguously tranny, non-binary-ish, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure she got a whole gang on her side there, you know. Maria, you know, is a dude or what, you know?
Right. Anti-sexy.
Yeah, it's
as long as you're anti-sexy.
Yeah.
Don't represent anything that's attractive at all.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, this is all frontline.
Yeah.
I had to go through this at another time.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
So the thing is, they're going to be messing around a lot more. The only question is the real question we need to ask ourselves is how we conduct ourselves in this process. You know, I don't.
How do we counter it? How do we counter it? I mean,
yeah,
and, you know, and we have to educate our children. So that means that what are we going to do? If we put them in schools, they're going to make sure they're going to tell us we got to poke them and vax them.
I think number one, the only chance you really have is to basically get really grounded as far as who you are, right?
Yep.
That's it. And then from there, you have to speak from that. That means call out bullshit when it's bullshit. You know, don't lie, right? I mean, that's the only thing we really have. I mean, if you're otherwise, it's like, you know, you're just kind of defeating.
Of course, even if it means wearing your Knights of Columbus sash to court and then having your ass handed to you for it.
So at the end of the day, I think what the proof happens is not. So the problem is all this hoopla happens at the front end on a very superficial level, right? Someone said this, someone said that, they said this, and the reaction's instant. People have no time to think about it another time anyway, right? I think our values are actually a little bit different. It's on the back end. It's in the proof of where it actually proves itself over time, right? As far as, you know, which values hold true or not. Unfortunately, we can't really react to the temporal as much. We can't overreact to the temporal. Right?
That's what they want. They want that conflict. They want that friction.
But that's on a temporal. But I do believe that if you leave them long enough, they destroy themselves.
Yeah.
No, seriously, I do believe that, you know, if you let them, and that's the way. I think that's the only way around you deal with this. You allow them to destroy themselves
because it's not based in truth, and
they're going to help them destroy themselves.
Exactly.
You know?
They're going to eat each other. They're going to go after each other's throats. They can't fully coexist. I mean,
No,
think about it, right? They needed the good old basics, Black people and women as the cornerstone of their perspective. Now they've got trannies beating the shit out of women in sports.
Exactly.
Gotta pick a side. Gotta pick a side. You know.
What they've done strategically, right, is to get every single group that's not straight male, basically, right?
Supposedly marginalized, yes.
Yeah, but that also means every freaking fringe group that you can imagine. That means the Church of Satan, bestial celebrities, the Wicca Foundation, anal, whatever. You know what I mean? All these freakos and weirdos, they have to form a grand coalition with them. And at the moment, if you look at it, they're not going to speak anything against each other because it's going to splinter, right?
Right.
So, and the fact of the matter is, the nature of it is to splinter. In fact, we're actually watching Biden starting to splinter now into 3 pieces. Right? Yeah.
What kind of real feminist is in support of men playing women's sports?
Yeah, exactly, right. I mean, because those aren't real feminists. I mean, they're just trying to exploit the word feminism, right? I mean, we can actually, we can actually support real feminists by saying, wow, this here is a real woman, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's what I don't understand. Where is the voice for those who truly appreciate women and truly appreciate womanhood and understand that a man cannot put on a fucking dress and become a woman?
Exactly, right. So we actually exactly. So the thing is, like we're starting to see the news media finally throw Biden under the bus, right? Because of apparent. I mean, it's clear. People are complaining now, grumbling. 9%, 10% inflation and stuff, right? And he's saying all this stupid shit. It's hard to hide. They still want to kind of suppress it, because it works for them, but it's falling apart. And also the radicals within Biden saying you're not going hard enough, to declare abortion free for alls, whatever, They're splintering off, realizing that, to be honest with you, the reason of this, the reason we've had this Roe versus Wade situation here is because Biden has been in business for 50 fucking years in the government.
Yep.
They were supposed to set up laws. They were paid and they got donations from people who wanted abortion to be able to represent them, to set up laws and say abortion, but they never did. They never did their work legislatively, right? And it shows now, right?
Yep.
They didn't lay the groundwork. It's their fucking fault that you're in that situation, right?
Let's see what GB is saying. This guy is good. He's often pretty radical.
Easygoing soldiers with long hair legalized. We all know the Netherlands. Relaxed, easygoing soldiers with long hair, legalized pot, legalized hookers, smoking pot. But sometimes even the Dutch have to draw a line. A teenage farm boy on a tractor. Let's take that sucker down. Open fire.
Open fire?
Yeah, they shot at him.
Hey, wapens, jongen, wapens. Hey, kom maar weg, jongen, wapens.
They didn't kill him, did
Sound
they?
of shots being fired on a tractor being driven by a teen. Shots firing because otherwise that tractor could just floor it and get away from your police cruisers. You know that heartwarming story about the little Dutch boy who put his finger in the dike? Wouldn't it be much better if the Netherlands coppers just opened fire and turned that dike into Swiss cheese, and then that little punk wouldn't have enough digits to plug all the holes? What's going on here? Our senior executive Dutch bureau chief is Eva Verladingenbroek, and we're interested to get an authentic Dutch person's explanation of what is going on in the Netherlands right now. Is this the Canadian truckers, but with even greater appeal, Eva?
Somewhat, yeah. You can definitely compare the two. Even the farmers out in the streets have compared themselves to the Canadian truckers and said that they drew inspiration from the truckers' protests. But so just to explain briefly to your viewers what's happening here, the Dutch farmers are out protesting on the street because our government has pushed a law, a nitrogen law, that is basically going to put a lot of these farmers out of business. They have to cut their livestock by 30% before the end of 2030. And well, like I said, then that land goes to the state. So the state is stealing our farmers' land, and the farmers are obviously not having it. I mean, if the state would come into my house and would say, I'm going to take 30% of everything that you have ever worked for, I wouldn't be happy either. But as you saw, the state doesn't respond very well to these farmers protesting, and even have used violence and even shot at a 16-year-old boy that you saw driving away from the protest. So things are getting pretty ugly over here.
Why are they responding in this way, and why are they picking this fight now at a time when there are huge disruptions in the food supply chain around the world?
Because it's not really about a nitrogen crisis for our government. We even had a report come out, a state report, stating that the new regulations are way too harsh on the farmer, even for the nitrogen goal, quote unquote, that they're trying to reach. So there has to be an ulterior motive. And they're not so secretive, actually, about what their ulterior motive is. We've seen in other state documentation that they need the land for housing. And for who do they need these housings? Well, for new immigrants coming to the country. So that's one. And then another theory that obviously we have is that this is a global agenda. It's the 2030 agenda. It's the Great Reset. And farmers are, of course, a really independent group that stand in the way of that. So it's this globalist institutions that are controlling our everyday lives, and in this form is really taking away property. So
we can't let them win, man.
But you only do it when you let them is a key point there, right? Yeah. You cannot let them win. But the problem is whether acquiescing or passivity is not a good thing. I was just this American dude here, a local one. He's married to a woman from Kosovo, and the woman started cheating behind his back. Where the guy he's cheating with, an Egyptian guy, comes over even. He's got 2 kids, and he's like, it's a fucking mess, man. And he's like letting this guy and letting the situation roll over him, right? I'm like, dude, if he gets divorced, he's fucked. He has to pay in Switzerland most of his income. He's going to live in a small apartment, supporting him, her, and her new lover, basically.
Oh, man.
I told him, and you know what? And his attitude is like, well, Lily, if that's what you want to do, right? You know, and I go, Lily, that's his full fucking attitude, as if he was like such a genteel soul, right? I told him today, look, Joel, I got to tell you something, man. You need to figure out what you want to do with this, right? What your outcome is. It's not about the divorce. It's not about this or this and that or the money, but what can you actually live with, right? He's like, oh, where's the children? He's using his 2 girls as sort of like this, as if it were the holy grail of stuff. The fact of the matter is they don't even need him, right? Because he's spineless. I said, right. Joe, look, that guy is ruining your life, is ruining the life of your children. What? I'd go fucking threaten to shoot him if I was me.
Right. Oh, it would be OJ.
No, I said, because that's how much it would mean to me, right?
Right.
I mean, if that is how much it means to me, I'm not gonna say, oh, is this what you guys want to go meet downstairs and have sex in the car, shit like that, right?
Yeah. No.
But he's allowing this, he's accepting it, and by his passivity, he's acquiescing. He's giving it a green light, right? As a man, you could say, I'm not doing this.
I'm not going for it.
I'm not going for it. You could decide that.
And if my options include a prison cell, then guess what?
You live
I'm
with
considering that prison cell against the reality of living in a 1-room apartment and supporting you and you banging this guy with my money. No.
The governments and the courts, they're not on your side. They're not. The system, the police, the district. They're not on your side, bro.
They're not.
And so part of it is this is part of the equation of what you have to deal with, right?
Yeah.
It's like, well, okay, there's a consequence there, and you weigh that out. Is that really part of worth the consequence? They're not going to give you time to explain any of this later. But at the end of the day, you have to take the actions that you believe, your principle, what means something to you, and you gotta live with it. You know.
Yeah, they're making it difficult to live with integrity. That's what it is.
You do. And then the idea that we'll leave it maybe at the mercy of the court if they approve what you did and this and that. By the time you do that, it's not. I mean, you still. I believe that you still have an inherent right, to act on it the way you see fit, according to your values, not according to getting a permission from City Hall, kind of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just that we are against the system.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Even to totally incompetent governments to take farmland and, as you say, use it to build housing for all the unskilled immigrants that Western nations are importing on an industrial scale.
Well, because they have different plans for us. Let me just tell you, your favorite man in the world, Bill Gates, of course, is related to this story once again. So the Dutch minister who pushed for this nitrogen law, she has a brother-in-law who owns a online picnic. It's called Picnic Supermarket. And the supermarket has had a $600 million investment last year by no other than Bill Gates. Once again, and that's the man, obviously, who wants us all to eat his Beyond Burger, his fake synthetic meat, and the bugs, of course. So that's the type of future that these people have in mind for us, and it's a good way to keep us under their control. If they control the food supply, you control the people.
She is beautiful.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind eating insects picked out for me by Bill Gates, were it not for the fact that you never know how manipulated those insects might be and what miracle vaccines he might have managed to put in all those attractive little bugs. Thank you for that, Ava. I don't understand how Bill Gates, he built Windows 98, the bane of everybody's existence, and it made him so much money that he has now become the biggest farmer on the planet, and he is breeding this. No one would try. If you submitted this to your publisher as a science fiction novel,
you get that angle.
Wealthy man who made a lousy computer, and he used all the money to become a big farmer of special insects that you're going to eat instead of beef and lamb and chicken and veal and kedgeree. No publisher would buy that, but it's happening before our eyes.
Totally. That's why you know about Bill Gates' purchases of land, right?
All of the goddamn farmland, most of it, a lot of it in Louisiana.
All over the North Dakota, big, and then water sources and stuff like that, right? I mean, he's the biggest landowner now, right?
Yeah, he is the biggest landowner.
So
that itself should be illegal, knowing his agenda, knowing that he's a population reducing vax head.
So Bill Gates tilts the table in his favor all the time. That's his modus operandi. That's what he did with Microsoft. That's why he got busted for certain practices, predatory practices, right? So, I mean, this is a guy who popularized the idea of virtualization, meaning, stores don't need to exist in the real world.
The metaverse or whatever.
The metaverse, but then at the same time invests his money back to soil, right?
Right.
That's a big, huge brain fuck, isn't it?
Oh yeah. The same way he fucked Apple, man, when he was building, when he was writing Windows and shit.
Exactly.
He's fucked, man. He's evil.
In the existing next-gen EU fund, there is still a lot of money, which is also partly funneled towards greening our economies, and that's exactly what we need to do to become less gas and oil dependent.
People got inspired by the Freedom Convoy in Canada way before when the COVID protests started in Holland. So lots of people followed the truckers in Canada.
Where do you find still such a prime minister in the world? You find it in the Netherlands, and kabinet Mark Rutte.
26 november 2020. En dat is een brief van de heer Rutte aan de heer Klaus Schwab, waarin hij de heer Schwab bedankt voor het toezenden van zijn boek. En dit noemt een hoopvolle analyse voor een betere toekomst.
So here's the thing, man.
So big surprise, I just arrived at London Gatwick Airport to get on a flight to the Netherlands where...
Have you ever been to the Netherlands?
Of course.
Right. So the Dutch are pretty that's pretty strong people, man. You realize most of the Netherlands are under the sea level, you know?
Yep.
And the soil is very sandy, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a very sandy soil. For that to work, they've actually had to build dikes all around, just like you did in Louisiana, you know. And so,
right,
you know, so and then these they created waterways through that. So most everyone have waterways to get around places, right? Really interesting engineering. On top of that,
I took a boat taxi in Edam.
Oh, okay. So you did that.
Yeah.
So that goes throughout most of the country, and then they have windmills. They use them as the water's going in and out. You know, they're actually using the windmills to pump some of that water in and out as well too.
Okay.
And so on. Pretty ingenious people, right? And they're very proud. You know, and the people in the Netherlands are a little bit like kind of remind me of New Yorkers, basically. You know, they're very upfront.
Edam. Yeah.
I mean, Amsterdam people tend to be very, like you saw on the film, they're very kind of liberal, kind of just passing through kind of shit, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, we can have fun. But the people out in the country, the farmers, are just the opposite. They're very salt of the earth type people, whatever, you know. But for the country to work, takes a lot of cooperation from everybody because it's a small country to survive. They cannot afford to have this division between farmers and non-farmers, right? It's not going to work.
Listen.
On the farmers' protests that have sparked all across the Netherlands, the Dutch embassy has given me a vaccination exemption so I can fly into the Netherlands and start reporting immediately. So we set up a campaign, farmerrebellion.com. Please head on over there, chip in what you can, and learn a bit more about what's happening.
The police have set up blockades here to prevent cars from actually entering because we have the farmers' tractors all parked up just outside the provincial government house.
And having
This is Lewis Brackpool for Rebel News, and today I've arrived at Leo Warden with my colleague Lincoln J. And as you can see behind me, police have set up blockades where farmers are protesting outside of a government provincial part where they want their demands met. They feel like they are being silenced because of these radical green policies. So I'm going to be going around speaking to the farmers myself, ask them what are their demands and what would they like changed.
The Dutch government is going to take about the nitrogen for 0.9 grams on an acre. In Germany, we got 100 grams an acre, but the government doesn't want to listen.
And how will this affect the Netherlands as like a whole? Because there's a lot of talk about these radical green policies that the Dutch government are really homing in from, I think, your Prime Minister, Mark, is it?
Yes, also.
Yes, yes. How is this going to affect the Netherlands?
Dramatically. If they're going to do everything that they want, if they want to go to the goal, they're going to reduce 50% of the farmers here in Holland. And that's only the farming, but the truck drivers is going to come down, industry is going to come down, mechanics is going to come down, everything is going down.
At the same time, people are aware that the climate is changing, and that we need to step up our collective efforts to make sure that we counter that and that we mitigate it.
So the farmers have just had an altercation with the politicians here at this province. Let's throw to the footage. Check it out. So you just had an exchange with the guys who are here at the government. Yeah. Could you explain a bit to the viewers what the exchange was about and what has come to some sort of ultimatum here?
Last week we were here. We have an exchange with the police here. The half of them didn't show up.
Right.
Now the man told it went a little bit wrong. We came here yesterday. Nobody showed up. We're here today. Nobody showed up.
Wow.
We had only one chance left. Next Wednesday, the 13th, then we go inside. All the police has to be there, so we can make the point straight. Because that's the last day for the vacation for police. Then they are 2 months gone.
Yeah. And if your demands are not met next Wednesday, if they don't give you the meeting, what do you think will happen?
I think the farmers will explode. I think that is going to happen.
And that's why they need our land. They don't need our nitrogen. They need our land. 85% of land is from the farmers, and they chase us away to get land for building and recreation.
And do you see this as a local issue or a worldwide issue?
For now, it's a local, national. But I believe, and that the Germans already think so, the problem, they say, is the Natura 2000 areas. We have 161 here. For example, I believe Germany only has 4. But the German farmers, they think they're next on the list. But the population is growing. They need more food. It's stupid to chase the farmers away who provide food.
If the demands are not met, the farmers have made it clear that they will come back to this province next Wednesday, and there will be way more farmers turning up. And like the guy said, it will just explode.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. This has been Lewis Brackpool for Rebel News. Please go to farmerrebellion.com, donate, help fund this trip and get this message out and to show the other side of the story.
See, this is a big simultaneous, clusterfuck. I hate to say anything else. Coming down because what they're doing, they're systematically. Yeah, it's just George Soros and the boys and Schwab and them. Yeah, it is.
It's a land grab. That there's a straight out land grab.
Straight land grab, yeah, straight up grab, man, and it's ridiculous.
But you see, the thing is, those farmers they create value, they create food, they create stuff, right? And then they feed it out. And as far as they're concerned, they don't. They have to do all this to create this much. That is about as independent of a human being as you could possibly get, right?
Absolutely.
That is about as independent of that's an independent human being, right? And so they don't
Especially if you own your own land. Yeah, that is the most independent. That's the that's the French chateau, right? That's the chateau idea, a self-sustaining family unit.
This episode is brought to you by our friends.
You got your own food, you got your own wine, you can make money, and you got your own land.
That's the idea, right? But they're closing that off as well too, right?
That's what they're trying to do. And that's why I'm fighting to get me a piece of land, to get me a chunk of land and build on it, because I know that at some point we're going to have to be food self-sufficient.
Take a look at what is going on outside the United States. Most of our focus is what is going on in our home, but we need to look at also the happenings abroad, because there's some big stuff going on that will have implications for us here in the US. We are going to look at the Boris Johnson resignation in the UK. We will be talking to one of my favorite guests, and that is Calvin Robinson. If you haven't listened to my previous interview with him,
her accent sounds Dutch too.
We can link it in the description of this episode. But he's going to tell us what it means that the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, has said that he is stepping down, what that means for the UK, what the process is going to be of replacing him, who are the possible replacements, why is he stepping down, but also what are the real reasons behind why he's stepping down.
We are also going to look at the Church of England. The Church of England recently said that they cannot answer the question of what a woman is. Very sad. Calvin Robinson is a very clear thinker and speaker, and so he is going to break down what all of this means for us and why it matters. But before we get into the conversation with Calvin Robinson, I do want to talk to you about two other big things that are going on in the world, and that is what is going on in the Netherlands with the Dutch farmers' protest, and also what is going on in Sri Lanka. You've probably seen that there is a literal insurrection going on in Sri Lanka. The people there are taking over the palace of the Sri Lankan leaders. I mean, it's wild. So we're going to get into all of that. I'm just kind of going to give you a brief explanation, though, of what's going on. We will take a deeper look into these happenings in a future episode. We'll probably have some people who are experts in these fields come on and really tell us what is going on the ground there. But I just kind of want to give us an idea of everything that is happening. Then after the conversation with Calvin Robinson, we will also have a little outro where I'll give us a bigger picture perspective. So first, let me talk about this Dutch farmers protest. And if you're watching on YouTube, we can put some images and maybe some silent footage up so you can really see what's going on. But you've probably seen on Twitter that these videos of what look like hundreds, if not thousands, of tractors and trucks that are on the road and they're protesting. So why is this happening? This is according to France 24. 40,000 farmers gathered last week in the central Netherlands agricultural heartland to protest the government's plan to cut emissions of, quote, damaging pollutants, which will probably force farmers to cut their livestock herds or stop working altogether. The government is proposing measures to cut nitrogen oxide and ammonia, both of which are produced by livestock, by 50% nationwide by 2030. The government statement, the honest message is that not all of the farmers can continue their business. So the government is actually admitting this, that for these climate change purposes, or what they say, what they're doing is for the purpose of stopping or inhibiting climate change.
What they say.
There are going to be farmers that can no longer work, that can no longer provide for their families.
Half of them.
And you know that all of our food comes from farms. And even if you are a vegan, the vegetables that you are eating were probably fertilized with the manure
Nitrogen,
from livestock. And so you can see the massive implications that this will have, not just for the farmers, but on Netherlands as a whole and all of the countries who are trying to pursue these same goals. A lot of
Food
these things
production
are happening here in the United States as well.
Not only that, man. It's not just regular food production, Devin.
Yeah.
If you were to actually see, like, pause this for a second, right?
Yeah.
The Dutch systems of farming as well, where they actually have the balance of the livestock and using that in the fertilizer, and it's all bio. It's all organic as well too. And it feeds into what they're using for nitrogen and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's a good balance there. What they're proposing is where you grow everything indoors. You have animals that are not gonna leave this fucking thing that catches their farts, right?
Yeah.
Hydroponic
Yeah.
systems. You don't have sheep. You have fish that never, who knows what, right? So it's all produced indoors, and all the gases are caught and stuff like that, right? Is a very sort of it makes for very unhappy animals for sure, right?
Yeah, and poor quality food.
Oh yeah, it shows in the food. We have free range chickens here. We see the quality of the eggs and the produce versus the ones that are grown inside these factories. Huge difference, man. They're very, very, it's different.
Also, just think for a second about the implications of that, how difficult that would be for the farmers to try to raise cattle and livestock that are going to provide nutrition for the people that they are selling to. Dutch farmers gathered by tractor in the central Netherlands agricultural heartland, slowing traffic. Farmers drove on crowded highways in their slow tractors or stopped altogether. Some dumped hay bales on roads. Some gathered at town and city halls, and some started bonfires outside buildings. So this is very similar to what happened in Canada with the trucker protest. They were protesting the vaccine mandates and also protesting the lockdowns that again stole the livelihoods of many people. And one commonality in these leaders, whether it's Justin Trudeau of Canada or whether it's these Dutch leaders, is the World Economic Forum. You will also hear Calvin and I talk about the World Economic Forum, and you probably know the significance of 2030 if you've listened to my conversations with Justin Haskins about this great global reset that sounds like a conspiracy but is very much not, and is being manufactured and engineered by the people at the World Economic Forum. All of this has to do with that. The lockdowns had to do with that. These climate change policies, these green policies have to do with that. We are already starting to see the detrimental effect of that and how these governments are going to have to use force to get people to comply. People are not going to give up their livelihoods easily. People are not going to give up their ability, their right to eat meat easily. So this is going to be an utter catastrophe. And the elites who are trying to push this at the World Economic Forum are not going to let go of their plans easily. And unfortunately, we are even seeing that in this Dutch protest. So let me play you a clip of the police trying to stop these protests by force.
I've been getting
They put a
paid
commercial on right at that
$1,000
time. Hold a
if
second.
not more, just from this app on my phone. And
Sure you have.
Nee joh, hey, wapens jongen, wapens! Hey, kom maar, rij weg jongen, rij weg! Wapens is dat!
So these farmers are completely peaceful. As far as we know, as far as we've seen, as far as being reported, they're not armed. They're not causing some kind of violent insurrection. They are using peaceful means to try to sound the alarm about what is going on. And yet the police are shooting at them so that they will disperse. I mean, that's very frightening. And I guarantee you, the Dutch leaders say that they are doing so to protect democracy in the same way that Justin Trudeau said that he was going to shut down the bank accounts of the peaceful trucking protesters to try to protect democracy. What do I always say? That when progressives say democracy, they mean authoritarianism that they like. When they say authoritarian or fascist, they actually mean democracy that they don't like. Basically, what this is, and many people have said this is a managed decline. Now, the people in charge, as I think Justin Haskins would agree, think that they are helping the world. They think that climate change is the biggest threat that we are facing, that it's an existential threat. And even though most of the population really doesn't care all that much about it, like you might hear leaders like AOC say that they care about climate change, that we need to fight climate change. But really, that's not what people are voting on. People care about their pocketbooks. People care about being able to provide for their families and protect their families. First and foremost, that's what they are going to the voting booth for. They may say that they care about things like climate change, but that's really low on the priority list. But the elites at the World Economic Forum, and I'm talking about people in governments. I'm talking about our government. I'm talking about the governments in Canada. I'm talking about most European leaders. Again, this is not some like group of people who we have conjured up as conspiracy theorists. These are people connected to the World Economic Forum that are meeting regularly to talk about their climate change goals and the policies they have to put in place to meet those goals. And that is where this reduction of emissions is coming from in places like the Netherlands. That is why this is happening. And they think that they know better than us. They think that they know better than the general population, that the reason that we don't prioritize it is because we're just not smart enough or knowledgeable enough, or we don't see far enough into the future. And that if they just take control, while there will be some pain and what they would call, growing pains or transition pains now, ultimately it will end up being better. That is also part of why our gas prices are so high. Now, I'm not saying that Joe Biden is artificially pumping up the gas prices. Like, I don't think he is calling these oil companies and saying, hey, will you raise the prices of gas? But his green energy policies and the green energy policies that have been put in place for a long time are contributing to the high gas prices. It is not primarily Russia, as we have talked about many times. You can listen to the conversation that I had with my dad where we talked about this. Definitely listen to the conversation that I had with Jackie Daly about this, who is an energy expert. The green policies that he is putting in place, his refusal to allow new leases for these oil and gas companies, that is contributing to the high gas prices. And we have heard his energy secretary say that we are going through a transition period away from oil and gas. This all has to do with this elitist belief that climate change is our biggest threat and that all of the means justify the ends, even if it comes to mass starvation, which, if they keep going in this direction, like they are in the Netherlands, like we will see that. And let me just briefly try to wrap this up on this story so we can get to the Sri Lanka story. This is according to CNS News. In response to the government's newly announced national program to reduce pollutant emissions, Dutch farmers from across the Netherlands drove their tractors in protest of these agricultural limitations. The Dutch Minister for Nitrogen and Nature Policy, Ms. Christiane van der Waal, laid forth the country's plan to reduce its nitrogen emissions and said that they're going to reduce nitrogen emissions between 12 and 70% depending on the area. Studies conducted by the National Library of Medicine have found the urine and feces of livestock to be major sources of ammonia and nitrous oxide emissions. Since the announcement, protests have broken out across the Netherlands with around 40,000 farmers gathering. They've resorted to dumping hay bales or parking tractors in the roads as a means of blocking traffic. And then there's a dairy farmer who's quoted saying this: "I was asked to come here and provide breakfast so we can show we are food producers, not pollution producers." And they have shirts that say "No farmers, no food." Freedom of speech and the right to demonstrate are a vital part of our democratic society. I will always defend them, but it is not acceptable to create dangerous situations. It is not acceptable to intimidate officials. We will never accept that, said Prime Minister Rutte in a condemnation of the demonstrations. They're always condemning the demonstrations that humiliate them. And that is, of course, what is going on here. And so we'll see how this goes. I commend the Dutch farmers for standing up. Good for them. They show a lot of courage. They show a lot of persistence. May normal, average working people in the world continue to speak up, continue to push back, continue to stand up. Isn't this like workers of the world uniting and, oh wait, the socialists who are in charge don't like it? Isn't that interesting? Climate change policy has always been a war against the working class. Remember that. All right, before we get into the Sri Lanka story, let me pause and tell you about our first sponsor for the day. And that is Adele Natural Cosmetics. You guys know I absolutely love Adele.
You know, it's funny, man. Sri Lanka, I obviously don't know anything about them because, we only watch television and we hear what we see. You see what we see and hear what we hear. But cultures that you presume would be the most docile, right? Yeah. When the shit hits the fan, those are the ones with the biggest balls of all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's better than it ever has.
Let's see what she's talking about. Sri Lanka here. All right.
Yeah, I have a lot of Sri Lankan friends over here.
Really?
Yeah, they've been going through a civil war for a very long time, a bloody civil war.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. You see,
it's like between Buddhists and Hindus or something like that.
Oh, no shit. You see, they don't even talk about that over there.
So protesters have gathered to protest the economic crisis in Sri Lanka. The country is suffering from a severe foreign exchange shortage, which has limited essential imports of fuel, food, and medicine. They are almost totally out of fuel. So that's a problem, obviously. Sri Lanka's inflation hit 54.6% in June, and quite honestly, America is well on its way. They are seeking a $3 billion bailout from the International Monetary Fund. Protests have been taking place since March. Saturday's protest, which we'll show you the footage of in just a second, is believed to be the largest. Protesters stormed the Prime Minister's residence and set it on fire. Earlier, they had broken into the president's residence to sit on beds and swim in the pool. Here's a little bit of that.
My name is Marcia, and this is how I found the truth.
I don't care. Oh, they're in the presidential palace?
Yeah.
Prime Minister and the president, I'm not even going to try to pronounce their last names. You can look it up. They've resigned to allow an all-party interim government to take over. Both leaders have been in hiding and announced their resignations from there. Protesters have helped pick up trash from the mansion, swept the floors, watered the plant. So I think they're trying to say, look, we're not trying to be destructive and deadly. We're just trying to make a point that our government, for lack of a better term, is basically screwing us right now. And this is a theme that we have seen throughout the world, especially over the past few years. We have seen what you might call a populist pushback, a pushback of the people against their leaders who do not have their best interest at heart. What you are going to see, if these protests are at all effective, is a pendulum swing towards nationalism. And I know people get super scared about that term nationalism because they've been indoctrinated to believe that it's the same thing as fascism and that somehow this has to do with like some Hitlerian takeover. It doesn't have to do with that. Nationalism is putting the interests of your people first, putting the interests, the sovereignty, the protection, the provision of your country, of your citizens, of your borders first. That is the exact opposite of what is happening here in the United States, the exact opposite of what is happening in many countries in which the leaders are selling out their people for the interests of the economic global elite at the World Economic Forum and also for their own selfish interests. The UN is behind this, the WHO is behind this, all of this serves in the interest of what is soon to be the greatest global superpower, and that is China. And frankly, if we continue going in that globalist direction, things look really scary for the populace. Things look really scary for the masses, because if they're at least the pretense of their goal is, fighting climate change, then we know that one of the sub goals, one of the goals that helps them achieve that ultimate goal, is reducing the population. I mean, Bill Gates has literally been talking about this for decades. The problem of overpopulation, it's not just him, it's all of these. I hate to use the term elites because I know there's like a conspiratorial association with that word, but I don't know what else to call them. I'm talking about global leaders and politicians and billionaires and moguls who all have the same kind of agenda at heart. And
the globalists,
part of that agenda is depopulation, this Malthusian myth of overpopulation, which we have debunked several times, and which Elon Musk, with all of his faults and failures, has also talked about, that it is actually a myth that we are overpopulated as a world, and that actually we have a much greater danger that we're facing of population decline rather than overpopulation. By the way, just an aside, the Elon Musk Twitter deal, it seems to have fallen through, but they're going to court over it. Twitter is now trying to force the deal, so we're going to see how that goes. We don't have time to talk about all of that today, but what we're seeing is at least the effort of the people to push the pendulum in the other direction. You are going to see people wanting nationalism, wanting closed borders, wanting immigration moratoriums,
sovereignty,
wanting
self-determination.
Enough with trying to serve the interests of the global elites. We are going to care about the working classes in this country. We are going to care about the citizens of
Calvin
this country.
Robinson.
As I said, that's the exact opposite of what is happening right now under Joe Biden. I'm not convinced that Joe Biden is calling the shots himself.
He's not at all.
Weak and willing vessel.
That's my point.
So,
who the hell is writing his teleprompter?
The borders to open. That is why he is allowing the chaos that is reigning in the streets of the United States.
That's really what people should be. That's what journalism is there to do, to ask who's writing his teleprompter.
Who's writing his fucking? Because it's not Kamala. Kamala's done it.
No, they're covering for whoever's writing it, right?
Yeah.
Or we were told that they were released for our benefit so that the price of gas would go down. They are being sold to China, or many barrels of oil are being sold to China, not all of them. It is why he is constantly putting the interests of other countries and the citizens of other countries before our own. It is a anti-nationalism that we are seeing in our government.
You ever write software? Like, you ever do programming in software?
I did a C++ back when it was relevant.
Okay. So, I mean, when you do C++, for example, and then you create a variable, right?
Right.
You say a variable called A with a value. A equals 5 or something, right?
Right.
Typically in C++, within that source, that structure of code where it's being used, right?
Yeah.
There's a place in memory that says A equals that value, right?
Yeah, you define the value. Yeah.
Yeah, and it changes from place to place, right?
Right.
Now, there's a concept called the global variable, right? Which means A is the same value throughout the whole code structure, right?
That's where they're trying to go.
That's it. That's the issue. The
Global standardization. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you have one variable with one particular value, what that's meant to do is to have one point of control. First of all, it's actually inefficient in code, right?
Yeah.
It causes software to run very slowly. It takes
because it makes it have to seek through every instance of a variable throughout the whole fucking kernel before it makes a decision.
It has to always go back up to the top and the bottom to get done, and then every source, every piece is kind of access it at the same time too, right?
Yeah.
So
it makes it a pig. It makes it a pig. Yeah, resource pig.
And it also causes a lot of problems. So the analogy here is the level of complexity that they are interjecting right now in this process, which they, in their mind, from a control standpoint, is simplification. It's actually a level of entropy later, right? That's going to cause everything to slow down to a crawl. That's where we're headed. Everything's going to be slowing down to a crawl. Until people break away from the whole mess, that Tower of Babel, and say, no, I'm doing my own stuff, right? It's going to continue to try to freeze everything. We're going to see everything freeze at this rate, right?
I know.
The movement of goods and things are not going to go move around and stuff, right?
So my point is, we're going to have to figure out a peaceful way to coexist while we're struggling against this, because what they want us to do is fight each other in the streets.
If they could, yeah,
they could. Yeah. They're trying to pump up all divisions. They're trying to cause as much political chaos as possible. They're trying to choke off our food and all of our supplies. They're trying to make the economy and the price of gas and everything so unbearable that we cannot function and exist. And hey, look,
they're gonna make North Korea look like a really attractive place to live.
Of course, man. Of course. They could very well kill my storefront. My business is going to still survive, but I may have to let go the storefront, because honestly, when I first started the Biometrics Health Center, I didn't mind taking money from Biometrics to support the health center because I was helping my son. Now my son's in high school and he's fine. And it's not like there's a big demand among the public for me to help their children, not because they don't want it, but because they can't afford it.
Right.
The economy is getting so bad. Holistic healthcare is a luxury. CBD is a luxury. And I can let it go. I can let it go and just live my life and spend time with my son and survive, but everybody can't do that.
No. Yeah. But this is going to be, the problem, we're at a point now where I think what I'm seeing is that the elitists have handed over a lot of these duties to the non-thinking robots, right?
That's right.
Right? So it's going to be pushed and carried by people who they're just actually doing this out of it's an automated response, climate change. They don't even know what they're doing, right?
No, they don't.
But they're going to be enforcing it.
Yeah. It's really sad.
Yeah. Anyway, hey man.
Yeah. Huh? Let's find out who this guy is.
Free and unmarked boxes. Go to preparewithali.com right now for your discount. That's preparewithali.com.
He's got a priest collar on or something. Who's this guy? With an afro.
Calvin, thank you so much for joining us again. Before we get started in breaking down everything that's happening over there, can you tell us
a Crusader flag?
A few minutes late.
I think I got here just on the dot. I heard the computer as I walked through the door. But yeah, I got lost in Winston Churchill's bunker. So I was down in the war rooms, and it's like
Church of England.
Everywhere you turn, there's a hidden place with desks or beds, and it's obviously where he lived and worked throughout World War II. So it's a nice place to get lost. But I was like, I'm going to make it out. I'm going to be late for Ali.
Oh my goodness, that's a very British reason for running late. But as you said, you were right. You were right on time.
Tally
But
ho,
I'm glad
pip
that you
pip,
were
and all
able
that sort
to
of
tell us
thing.
that story. All right.
I
Speaking
was
of,
down there because I was listening to a couple of the parliamentary candidates talking about why they make the best prime minister. So I heard speeches from Suella Braverman and Nadeem Zahawi. Very, very different.
oh, so it wasn't just that you were exploring down there just for fun.
No, I'm always working.
There are political professional reasons for it. I got it. All right. Well, tell us then, what is going on? Well, I mean, why? You just said that why you were down there.
Anyway, hey
why
man,
what's going on?
2
Why
o'clock
Yeah.
I'm cut out now.
what the heck is happening?
It's gonna. Oh,
Right. I mean,
I'm gonna sign off now. It's 2 o'clock over here. So
oh, okay, bro. Yo,
He's
thanks for
still
joining,
Prime
man.
Minister.
yeah, all right, take it.
In
Peace out.
Downing Street. He says he'll be the caretaker Prime Minister until a new one is selected around September, which I think could actually give him some time to try and win people over. I don't know. I'm not convinced he actually wants to leave. I think he wants to be dragged out kicking and screaming. But he's been, the coup took place because.
Let's see what's up here.
We don't do this with communism. We don't do this with socialism. We don't do it with capitalism.
Generic Viagra in CVS costs $45 per 100 milligram tablet. But with a newly announced
And I want to speak about a dangerous trend in race relations that has come far too close to home to my life. And this is the promotion of critical race theory, an ideology that sees my blackness as victimhood and their whiteness as oppression.
Wow.
I want to be absolutely clear. This government stands unequivocally against critical race theory. Some schools have decided to openly support the anti-capitalist Black Lives Matter group, often fully aware that they have a statutory duty to be politically impartial.
I really appreciate her no-nonsense approach too, and doing exactly what you just said, which is looking underneath the headline of these disparities exist and actually asking the question, why do these disparities exist? You're probably aware of Thomas Sowell. He wrote a book called Discrimination and Disparities, where basically he makes that argument that disparities are not in themselves evidence of discrimination. And when you refuse to look at the reasons for disparities beyond potential discrimination, you actually do a disservice to the people who are suffering from the disparities because you're not willing to look at the actual cause. So I think certainly that you all would benefit from that kind of leadership. Now, is it possible that, because I really don't know very much about this process, is it possible that the new prime minister is not from the Conservative Party?
No, it has to be a Conservative from the Conservative Party. But you're right to mention Thomas Sowell. I think he is fantastic. I've hoped to meet him one day. I understand he lives a reclusive life at the moment. But so Kemi Badenoch quoted Thomas Sowell in her campaign launch, as well as quoting St. John from the Gospel of John. So I thought that was, those 2 points stood out for me in particular. Yes. I don't think Kemi is a practicing Christian, but I don't think any of the.
Thank you. I mean, thank you. I'm not really concerned overly with British politics, but what's happening in the world is real, and it's happening all over the world. Thank you very much, Marco, for joining me, man. I appreciate it, friend. I think I'm getting ready to wrap it up here too. It's about 5 on the West Coast. So I think everybody has kind of got the gist of what's going on. We're just going to have to figure out a way to love each other and to peacefully get through this, navigate through this. In my opinion, the globalists are not going to win, and we're not going to let them win. It's absurd, and it's a ridiculous notion to even consider such a thing. But we have to be peaceful and loving toward each other, and we can't allow the globalists to pit us against each other. We can't allow them to put us at each other's throat. This is a very critical time, not only in American history, but in world history. And the people are going to win. We are going to win. We're aware of what they're trying to do, and we're not going to allow them to do it. Now, go ahead and give me your strikes and give me your shadow bans and give me all of your stuff that you're going to give me. And that is what it is. This is Devin Lockett. Thank you for joining me. I want everyone to stay kind because, as you always know, kind is not only the new sexy, kind is the only sexy. Stay blessed and stay healthy. I will see you on the next live. Peace. Oh, I forgot to show you guys the Let me stop sharing this and start sharing this. Peace.
Gold label quality Biomed RX CBD oil is made from organic hemp that is locally grown, glyphosate-free, gluten-free, non-GMO, homogenized, third-party tested, and CO2 extracted. Visit www.biomedrxcbd.com.
Biomedric's Optimum Woman is the only woman's high-potency full-spectrum multiple vitamin supplement to contain 56 nutrients, including those most important for today's woman, such as calcium for bone health, iron for healthy red blood cells, beta-carotene, biotin for nail and hair health, gamma-linoleic acid from evening primrose oil, octasanol, grapeseed extract, a potent antioxidant important for maintaining capillary strength, and vegetarian digestive enzymes. Visit www.biomedrxsupplements.com.